let's get through this. This is Noah Chrysler. So Noah is an ex-employee of Caleb. He apparently had a negative experience. We've covered Caleb in the past. Look, I don't watch Caleb Hammer except with you guys. So we haven't watched him. I'm not a fan of his thumbnail style. I understand the branding of it all, but I don't watch him without you guys. It's not interesting. It's too performative for me in private, but I love like Chelsea Fagan. I love the Financial Diet. I watch that all the time. I watch Chelsea. Every video Chelsea puts out, I'm watching. I only watch Caleb for stream, so I haven't checked in with him. And I do think his show probably gets people who aren't in the best position because it makes better content to come on the show, which is, it's all kinds of possibly unethical, right? So like there's conversations to be had about that. But why did he make this video about being an ex-employee? What is his beef with Caleb? Let's find out because I don't actually know.
And it strikes me to my...
Oops.
Hey guys, what's up? I've attempted to record this video at least a half a dozen times, not just within the last week or so, but within the last like 6 months or whatever. Since I've started making content again, I've tried to start this video so many different times. Nobody understands. That's the other thing, is that nobody understands. Nobody understands that I think about this situation compulsively. I think about this situation at least once an hour every single day. I'm filled with fear around this situation.
Oh my God.
Even though
Oh my God. Okay, I'm set. Let's go.
I have had months to decompress and months to rebuild myself as a person, right? Like I still think about this situation and it strikes me to my core with fear.
Oh.
Let's give this thing an intro, huh? My name is Noah Chrysler. For about 8 or 9 months, I believe last year, I worked for a man named Caleb Hammer. The job started out as a dream, right? If it originally felt like I was like living in this dream, that like my dreams were coming true and I moved all my shit to Texas. And then it slowly devolved into a nightmare. I signed 3 contracts while working for Caleb Hammer. Each one includes things like a non-disclosure, a non-compete clause, and legal language that made it incredibly hard to figure out what I'm even allowed to say.
Oh, a non-compete clause. So even while he's working, or that's interesting. Oh, so he couldn't make his own YouTube channel on the side?
And because this all happened in Texas, I've had to navigate a legal landscape that doesn't exactly favor people in my position. Making this video has been absolutely exhausting. I've spent weeks trying to get it right, fact-checking, editing meticulously, and replaying memories that I wish I could forget. I did this because I know the risks, but I also know what it's cost me to stay silent. This isn't easy for me, not just legally, but personally. For the first half of this story, I considered Caleb to be one of my closest friends. We worked side by side, and I barely knew anyone else in Austin, so the way this ended is something I've carried with me every day since. Throughout this video, you'll hear my voice come in from time to time. Those parts have been carefully crafted to reduce my legal liability. Putting this out at all might be a mistake, but I'm going to do it anyway. Over the past 6 months, as I've returned to making my own content, I've been using it as a way to sort through the harder chapters of my life. I started a podcast series called My Failure Resume, where I reflect on old projects, not to wallow, but to make sense of them, to lay them to rest. I didn't set out to make this video, but if I'm honest, I think some part of me always knew it was coming, that behind the other stories that I was telling, this was the one that was waiting, and sooner or later, I'd have to face it. There were some things that were happening at the company that
This is Caleb Hammer, the financial audit guy, financial audit.
I was deeply not okay with. So I march into the office of Caleb's business partner. That morning, I had a private conversation with Robert, the main business manager of the company. For weeks, I'd been wrestling with growing concerns about what I was seeing behind the scenes. When I would raise these concerns in other areas of the company, they would fall on deaf ears. That day, I finally voiced them directly and privately to Caleb's main business manager, Robert. I told Robert that I couldn't keep working there unless serious changes were made at the company. That afternoon, Robert pulled me into his office and I was let go. I asked if Caleb planned to even say anything to me as I was being fired, and Robert informed me that no, he would not. As Robert delivered the news, he told me that there was a severance offer, but to receive it, I need to sign an additional agreement. It was the most restrictive NDA I'd seen so far. It made it clear, if I took the money, I couldn't talk about any of this. I told him I needed some time to think. Later that evening, Caleb texted me a large video file. It was the security camera footage of his business manager, Robert, firing me. Caleb just texted it to my phone.
What?
Shocked, I watched the video back in disbelief. Then I immediately blocked Caleb's number.
He said, I'd show it, but I'm fairly certain that showing it exposes me to significant additional legal risk. What?
Now, I told Caleb multiple times, on camera and off camera, that being let go was something that I carried a lot of emotional baggage around. It was a trigger for me, and it's something that we even discussed on his show more than once. So when I received that video file that night, I couldn't help but wonder, why send it to me like that at that time? That's just what I thought in the moment. I drop everything. I immediately go and I drive to Walmart and I buy the largest baseball bat that I can possibly find. And then I bought mace.
Okay. He said, out of sheer panic, I bought these items because I felt unsafe and unprotected. It was a personal reaction to fear, not a response to any specific threat. Maybe don't share that with us. Why did you just share that with us? That is a very weird thing to include in this video. Why do you go, what a crazy thing. Who are you afraid of? There was like, what are you doing? Like, even if this was panic and he's like, I was having an emotional response, why are you sharing that with us? Do you know what I mean?
Bought like personal defense fucking mace, and I bought a doorstop so that I live like a quarter mile from his studio because I moved to Texas for this job, and he's just texted me footage of like one of the most traumatic experiences of my life, right? So you can go ahead and say that I am like, you know, irrational and insane, but like, you know, at that time in my life, I was freaking the fuck out, right? I know that sounds paranoid, but in that moment, I did not feel safe. Receiving that video and watching it back made me feel like my sense of security had been fundamentally violated. The next morning, I received an email from Caleb where he explained that he just sent me the video by mistake. Since I was in the video, he got confused. He informed me that he had intended to send the video to Robert instead for Robert's records. I'm only going to make this video one time, and I'm going to do a good job. I've outlined the major story. There's so many individual stories I could have put in this video that I decided not to, and the only way to do it is with something like this, and I'm going to tell you the whole story of my engagement with Caleb Hammer since the beginning. I don't want to make this video. I really don't. That said, I realized eventually that I have to. I had to make this video because I can't get this fucking shit out of my brain. The reason why I'm making this video is so that I can try—
Did you go to therapy? Did you go to therapy? Question. Did you go to therapy? Because, like, my guy,
to achieve something similar to closure. I think about this situation every single day. There's 8 acts here. We're gonna go through each one. Tab out if you want, like go play a video game, throw it on in the background, go for a drive. I don't care. Act 1, here we go. For the past 2 weeks, I've been trying to turn the most traumatic story of my life—
fuck, what did it say? The invitation?
For the past 2 weeks, I've been trying to turn the most traumatic story of my life into a television show. I have tried to make this video many, many, many times. One of the renditions was me trying to cut this situation. I gave a down-the-barrel monologue about this situation. I give an angry, angry monologue in the woods, okay? And then that is a part of this like 3-act structure comedy show, like television show pilot that I was trying to cut. And so like for the past 3 weeks or so, I've been trying to take that monologue where I'm so angry and trying to cut it into this like funny television shows type thing about my life. And it's driven me insane. Right? Like trying to make the most traumatic story of my life into a television show has actually genuinely driven me nuts. And I've been sitting here for like 3 weeks, staring at my computer, trying to get this right, asking myself, why isn't this right? Why isn't this right?
Because you didn't go to therapy, Habibi. Chat says men will do anything but go to therapy. Okay, I'm trying to stay open-minded. I just do not know what's going on. But did Caleb fire you maybe because you're mentally unstable? And I say this as a girl who's been to therapy and has been diagnosed with personality disorder with peace and love. Sometimes, you know, it's a sign. You remember how I got fired and I went to therapy? Changed my life? I'm just saying, with peace and love, did Caleb maybe fire you because you're giving weird vibes? But let's see.
Why isn't this right? And the reason why it's not right is because when something horrible happens to you— Hi, Macho. I'm watching back the footage of what I made, right? I'm watching back the edit, and I just realized to myself, there's no possible way that I can sit— after 3 weeks, I sit there and I realize there's no way I can cut this together in a way that people are going to understand that, like, the anger that I'm experiencing in this monologue as I give it down the barrel of this camera, they're never going to understand—
Ooh, when a man says angry and barrel, I get a little scared.
And why I am this rightfully angry. This will not play how I want it to play, right? And so instead, what I ultimately decided is that I needed to make this video where I just tell you all of this information down the barrel of the camera. We're going to start at the beginning. This is a whole story. This is my whole arc with Caleb Hammer. I'm only going to make this once, so we're starting way back where I want to. I built a marketing agency, right? I quit my cushy job at a marketing agency to build my own. Previously in my life, I'd squirreled away $10,000. I'd listened to hundreds of hours of the Dave Ramsey Show.
Oh, well, first of all, okay, first and foremost, I don't know what it's giving, but it certainly isn't giving somebody you want to work with. And I'm just telling you how I feel. 7 minutes in, I'm just a little confused. I don't know this human. I don't know this person. I don't watch Caleb. Like I said, I only watch him on stream, so I'm not even like a fan or anything of Caleb. I'm just trying to like understand the vibe. And he is angry and it is giving male anger. And a part of me is like, you need to talk to a therapist because it's kind of scary. But also maybe that's my prejudice because like when men show anger, people die. Anger is a very valid emotion. It's just like the way that men often engage with anger is very dangerous. Like him being like, I bought a baseball bat and I bought all these things, but then saying it was for his protection. Okay. But I feel like a lot of this is like mental health, which is valid. But why?
show and squirreled away $10,000. I was overweight and I didn't really like my life and I didn't like my job, right? I had moved to Atlanta a few years prior, probably 4 years prior, to try to make it in the entertainment industry, and I was working some senior living marketing job. I would talk to my parents and they didn't really understand why I had moved away. And so I took all of my life savings and I quit my job to build my own marketing agency, right? I picked back up where Oscar and I had left off, but I was too afraid to admit that I wanted to do YouTube stuff, right? So instead I picked up the idea that Oscar and I had where we were building a marketing agency. You know, I got some clients, I made $20,000, but I had spent so much money trying to get this agency to launch that it ultimately failed. During this time though, like I had met this person that I still really care about, a close friend of mine. And she told me once, she goes, why don't you just work for a YouTuber, right? Like this marketing agency doesn't seem to be what you're passionate about. Like, you know more about YouTube and you make better videos than like most of the people I've ever seen. So like, why don't you just go work for a YouTuber, right? And that really blew my fucking mind wide open, because it's like, oh, holy shit. Like that is such a simple solution and you are so correct. Yes, let's do that. So I jump on YouTube and I find the next week, I find Caleb Hammer has posted this job ad. You know, we're hiring a junior producer, and I'm thinking to myself, let's go get it, you know? So I'm like, great, this is my shot. I make my application video. I pour over that video like for 10 days. I fucking work my ass off on that video, right? As I'm making that video, you know, there's a segment at the end where I talk about how his show is this positive transformational force for good, right? People come on his show and it changes their lives, right? And I was really, really excited to.
Okay, well, first of all, that was your first mistake. I don't think anyone watches Caleb Hammer and thinks it transforms anybody's life. I mean, you're kind of crazy. That's a crazy person take. That's a crazy person take. Like, not crazy mental health, just like absurd. That is like the most absurd take I have ever heard in my life. It's giving fanboy. It's giving fanboy. It's giving absolutely delusional fanboy. No offense. Not taken. Thank you.
Work at a business where people's lives were, you know, that was like personal transformation. That was like what we were going to be doing, right? And I remember trying to find B-roll for that section. Up to this point, I'd only really consumed Caleb from TikTok and from YouTube Shorts, but I had consumed so much Dave Ramsey that I kind of was like, oh, they're probably like
First of all, I have watched hundreds of episodes of Dave Ramsey. I took what I needed and threw out the rest, because I guarantee you the same money parts that Dave Ramsey gives you that's good, Chelsea Fagan gives you as well from Financial Diet, except from a perspective of a progressive and not a conservative. Okay, so like Dave Ramsey, all his money advice, generally like the basic stuff, is the same thing Chelsea says. Everything extra in Dave Ramsey's niche is for conservative Christians. So like I got burnt out on Dave Ramsey. I jumped into the bubble. I like his baby steps. It's really good for my autistic brain. Like I like following his baby steps. That's the best thing Dave Ramsey I could get from him, is like, I like his baby steps. Okay. Everything else, all the conservatism, all the Christianity, all the Trump stuff, like I don't give a fuck about any of that. I stopped watching him. I took what I needed. I left it. Now I watch Chelsea. Chelsea gives similar advice in a different format. Love that. She has her own variation of like baby steps, but it's not really like packaged the way Dave Ramsey packages it. All of this to say is like, take what you can get. Like, look, Dave Ramsey definitely financially secured my parents into retirement. That's just the truth. They basically followed Dave Ramsey's steps and turned their finances around. Cool. Took what they needed, threw everything away. I look at Dave Ramsey, take what I need, throw it away. Why is this guy talking about Dave Ramsey like he's a good person? Dave Ramsey is not exactly a what is Dave Ramsey? He is a capitalist Christian. You do what you want with that. You do what you want with that.
Similar, right? Like this is Dave Ramsey, but he's holding people accountable with tough love. That's like how I thought about it, but it's pretty funny to watch, right? And so as I'm trying to like put together this like, you know, voiceover section of like, oh, your show changes all these people's lives, I was really struggling to find clips of Caleb changing anybody's life. Instead, I just found people crying. I found a lot of people.
Oh, so he does agree. Interesting.
And so as I'm trying to like put together this like, you know, voiceover section of like, oh, your show changes all these people's lives, I was really struggling to find clips of Caleb changing anybody's
And then you still applied for the job.
Life. Instead, I just found people crying. I found a lot of people crying. I found a lot of like Caleb making funny faces to the camera, but I didn't find a ton of the transformational stuff that I was talking about in my voiceover that I had originally written. But you know what? You know, the video was almost done at that point. And so it's like, okay.
I mean, he's a marketer agent guy. Like, I don't even like his industry anyways. You know, he's in an industry that I'm not even a big fan of. So I'm just going to say that.
Fuck it. Ship it. Like, you know, like red flags.
He sounds like a guy who's chasing money. And so he's going on a finance show, but he doesn't feel like a creative. He feels like a money guy.
Cost, you know, some cost. Fuck it. Like, let's keep moving. What I realize now is like, wasn't concerned with transformation, right? Was concerned with human.
Yeah, Caleb's show is mean, guys. Listen to me when I say this. Most shows that I watch, I've listened to Talk Radio my whole life. People like the meanness for some reason they think it's authentic. Dave Ramsey is really mean. Caleb is mean, but people like it because they feel like, yes, Dave, tear her a new one. Yes, Caleb, tear her a new one. People live through the vicarious, like people want to tear people down for their bad choices. Actually, one of the reasons I do like watching financial shows is like I learn from people's mistakes, but also even I'm yelling like, I can't believe you did that. Oh my God, I can't believe someone fell for this. There's something human about it. It's very like, again, I think there's just something like people like, but I will say that it's pretty negative. I will say that it eventually I find it to be like really gross, which is why Dave Ramsey eventually I got burnt out, and I get burnt out on Caleb if I'm not watching it with you guys very quickly. But Chelsea, I don't get burnt out on because Chelsea doesn't do that. But Chelsea doesn't have a call-in show, and she doesn't deal directly with people and their problems, to be fair.
Humiliation, right? That had been the playbook since day one, and I was not aware of it, right? That's why I bring that up. So whatever, I finish the video, I post the video, and then within 2 hours, Caleb calls me on my cell phone. I lose my mind over the first call. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited, right? I am so fucking over the moon excited. You know, we do 2 interviews, right? We do 2 interviews. First, I talk to So I do an interview with her, then I do an interview, second round interview with her and Caleb, right? I nail both of them because like I know my shit and I remember this part. I'm pretty sure there's a paper trail that backs this up, but like let me just go ahead and cover my ass and say that this
He said there is, I can confirm it.
is the impression that I was left with. The impression that I paper trail that backs this up, but like let me just go ahead and cover my ass and say that this is the impression that I was left with. The impression that I was left with was that I wasn't sure if I had gotten the job, right? They had kind of like alluded to the end of that meeting that I had received the job, but like I remember not being sure that I had the job until I got a call from Caleb that he was at a Best Buy and he was going to buy me AirPods, right? He was going to buy me AirPods 2 or the fancy ones that like were really nice. And I remember that phone call was like confirmed to me that I had the job. I had asked them, so I was like, hey, can you send me the job offer?
Hi, Caleb. Thank you so much for the call Wednesday night. I was over the moon excited. Do you guys mind sending over the offer and location of your new studio before we get to the weekend? I know you guys are wrapping up for the holiday break, but I'd like to get started planning on my move from Atlanta to Austin. Also, if you have any recommendations for areas in the city to look for houses or apartments to rent that would be close to the new studio, please let me know. Thanks again for the incredible opportunity. I look forward to joining the team and contributing to the success of the channel. Okay, this seems like a pretty basic email.
Right? Send me the job offer because A, I have to go get an apartment, and B, like I'm going to move all my shit across the country, right? I need a fucking job offer. So send me the offer. And they told me that they would, but then they're like, well, we're super busy. So like, you know, we'll get to it eventually.
Hey, Noah, we're very excited to have you joining our team. We are currently still working on the written offer and gathering the documents for you. We'll send them over as soon as they're ready. Okay, so you need to relax, bro. I don't know why he's like, this is how it works. Sometimes when you get a job, it takes like 2 months for it to become a thing. Did he think he was just going to get the job and move over the next weekend? Like, it's giving desperate. It's giving fanboy desperate.
I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to move all my shit across the country. You want me to do this on like a hope and a prayer that you tell me that there's a job there with no formal offer? What the fuck? But you know, I don't want to rock the boat. There was Moby Dick, right? There was a giant whale in the ocean and I had made my casting video.
He's a YouTuber. He's not even that big of a YouTuber. Relax. He's not 15 million subscribers YouTuber. Like, I don't know why you're working so hard for Caleb Hammer. How much was he even paying you? Like, relax.
Right, my application video, and I threw my harpoon at the whale, and the whale reeled me in, right? I wasn't about to be like, hey, like, what the fuck, whale? Where's my offer letter?
How old is this guy? Does anybody know this guy's age? Because if he's like 22, I get it. He's like a young guy. He doesn't know anything yet. But I don't know. It was giving 30 something to me. Is he 22? Because if he's young, I get it. Like, he's stupid and young and he doesn't know better, right?
And instead, the whale called me and he said, I'm going to buy you AirPods. And I said, oh, okay, cool. Right. Thinking nothing of it. Right now, in hindsight, I look at that story and I think to myself, wow, instead of like transparency and a job offer, instead it's like, hey, like come to Texas, get your AirPods. All right. Like that's fucking weird. Little bit of an aside. One of my friends, Emily, is a therapist and she talks to me. We've really explored recently how
No, chat. Wait, are you guessing? Chat says, girl, he is 38. Girl, that better be a joke. Is he really? How do we know his age?
This is very exposing. Here we go. My entire life, I've been like very ADHD. I dealt with loneliness my whole life, right? I felt like
Uh-oh. Neurodivergent lonely king? Is he about to tell me he's an incel too?
people don't understand me at a very high level, right? And so that
Oh no. Oh no. It's giving school shooter. I said what I said. I'm sorry. I'm so
Very
sorry.
deep.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But it is. It is. It's giving school shooter. I'm sorry.
One of my friends, Emily, is a therapist, and she talks to me. We've really explored recently how this is very exposing. Here we go. My entire life, I've been like very ADHD. I've dealt with loneliness my whole life, right? I felt like people don't understand me at a very high level, right? And so that's very deeply concerning to me. And so like the way I've coped with that,
It's giving, I don't mean to bring the N word into this conversation. It's giving narcissist. It's giving vulnerable narcissist. It's giving, I'm sorry, nobody understands me at a high level. I'm like ADHD. I'm just like at such a high level and no one understands me. Girl, I'm sorry. You are not helping your case. He's a fedora. Bro, tell me this man does not own a fedora. You're right, chat. He definitely owns a fedora. He's all like, Caleb, you know what I mean? I don't, no, ma'am.
there's like 4 ways to cope with trauma. I think there's like fight, flight, or freeze. And then there's a 4th one called fawn. And so fawn is the one that I typically use. Fawn is like this obsession with like escapism. Okay. So like when you're fawning over something, you can fawn over a book or a movie or a person or a celebrity. Right. And so this is the one that I've typically used. Right. So essentially like,
yeah. So that's like where we go to therapy. Do you have a therapist or do you have a friend who's a therapist? Are you actually going to therapy and deconstructing? Are you bothering your friend for free and using her for emotional labor? Because he said, my friend is a therapist. Cool. Do you go to therapy? Because he's right. In neurodivergent bubbles, there is a little bit, I see this in autistic women a lot, though men can do it too, where like they get obsessed and, you know, focus in on this thing and it becomes bigger than life. And when it doesn't happen, it's like their life is crashing around them. Ground yourself, people. We need to ground ourselves, right? It's okay to be disappointed, but it can't shatter your whole existence. And remember, thank you, Chad. He said that's not what fawn is. Girl, literally, I was like, is that even what fawn is? I don't remember it, but this isn't my genre. And I was like, I don't even remember what fawn is, but I feel like that's not it. Also, wait, pause. Don't forget it, Brittany. What were we going to say? No, what was I going to say? I forgot. Oh, he said this was the most traumatic thing that's ever happened in his life. I know it's men's mental health month, as well as my religious month of pride. Go to therapy, sis. Like, go to therapy, ma'am. Go to therapy, bro. Bro. Therapy, bro. Men's mental health. If I could give any men advice, get a good ass therapist. Get a male therapist you feel close to, get a female therapist you respect, get whatever word, gender thing, non-binary, whatever you need to get a therapist. Actually, shout out to Survival of the Thickest. The best friend gets a therapist who's a man, and it's so good. And the friend is like, oh my God, I need therapy. So he goes to his guy friends and he was like, guys, I need something. And they're like, what? Money? Are you on drugs? What's wrong? And he goes, I need a therapist. And they're like, oh, I've got a therapist. He's like, what? They're like, oh yeah, we're all in therapy. He goes, you guys have been in therapy and you didn't tell me? And they're like, yeah. And they were like, my therapist would say, this is what this is. And it was so cute. And I was like, oh, this is such a nice man representation of therapy. And then he starts seeing a therapist and it's really great. And you need to find a therapist that sees you and humanizes you, but you also got to humanize yourself and you got to humble yourself through therapy because you're about to face yourself. And that's the problem. This man is not giving humble. I don't know if this man could do therapy because I don't think he really wants to be better. I'm 12 minutes in. Let's see.
like whenever I felt like negative emotion in my life, I typically gravitate towards fawning over like media. And so that makes it so that like I am like hyper excited by like people with online fame, right? And I didn't understand at the beginning of all of this how prone that makes me.
I mean, yeah, sure, that's very neurodivergent. In the context of mental health, fawning is a trauma. Let me get you the fawning is a trauma response where an individual attempts to avoid conflict and ensure safety by excessively pleasing and appeasing others, often to the detriment of their own needs and boundaries. Okay, yeah, it's a people-pleasing behavior that can develop in response to interpersonal trauma. The way he's explaining it doesn't sound like that to me. But maybe he means to say that he puts them on a pedestal so high that he doesn't know how to act normal around them, so he lets them get away with doing things he would normally. Is that what he's trying to say? Maybe?
Me to manipulation. I didn't understand that makes me like a big, juicy target, right?
Yes, Chet says he's mistaking it for escapism. They overlap but different. Yeah, maybe that's what he's doing.
Now I understand. Now I get it. So that's fun.
I talked to my friend about therapy for 1 hour, so now I totally get it. Go to therapy, dude.
Fun tip. If you obsess over escapism or online celebrity, you should look into fawning and see if you fit the bill for some.
Y'all help me with this. Jesus, take the wheel. Take it from my hand, because I'm going to block this man from my life.
Someone who fawns, because like if you are that and then you someday meet those people, you will be prone to manipulation by those people. Okay, so you should look into fawning and you should try to figure out how to cope with it in a way that's not going to ruin your life. Cool. Anyway, Caleb Hammer calls me. I still don't we go back forth, emails. It's like multiple weeks. They have tons and tons of opportunity to send me a job offer, but you know what? They can't figure it out. They can't figure out how to send me a job offer before I move all my shit. I was staying in New York, but I had to move all my shit from Atlanta down to Austin, right? So I drove from New York. In the course of like a 2-week period, I drove from New York like 16 hours down to Atlanta. Then I packed up all my shit in less than a week, and I moved all my shit and moved out of my apartment from Atlanta across the country to Austin.
If he has ADHD, he's probably experiencing what I actually talked about in my failure podcast that I just talked about, which is like this deep desire to switch from hobby to hobby that you think is going to make you money. You put all your effort into it and it doesn't go anywhere, but you're not really serious about it. Actually, I'll tell you this, the conversation my sister and I were having where we kept miscommunicating was we were talking about, are you like, if you say you're going to do something like, I'm going to run a marketing agency like this guy, I would ask him, okay, are you actually going to run a marketing agency? Are you like, is it like a hard goal or a soft goal? And he goes, no, it's a hard goal. I'm putting all my money and time into it. Yeah. Is it really something you're going to do? Or is it something you're going to pretend you're going to do and lose a lot of money in the process? And he'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, no, I'm really going to do it. Are you really going to do it though? Or is it something you're going to pretend to do because you're not actually going to do any of the research and actually set yourself up for success? And you're actually going to fail at it and give up because it's not going to stimulate you in the way that you need your dopamine stimulated and fed to you. Like, are you actually going to do it though? You know what I mean? Like, hard goal or soft goal? Like, are you really going to do it? Or are you going to say you're going to do it? Yes, I know, Chad. Stop calling you out. Stop calling me out. I can't tell you how many times in my life I've told friends and family, oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I just, invested $1,000 into this thing. It's going to be my new business. Oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do this. Yeah. None of those were real hard goals. Now, let me tell you what happened when I actually picked a hard goal. What actually happened when I truly 100% put a hard goal in front of me? Full-time YouTuber, baby. Thank you so much. I did it, baby. I did it. But until I made YouTube a hard goal, it was always a soft goal that like, hey, if I get lucky and I do it, but I would invest so much money into my soft goals, but I wasn't really doing it. I wasn't really serious. I spent so much more money soft goaling my chance into YouTube than I ever did hard goaling it in. Once I made it a hard goal, that's it. It happened. But if I don't make it a hard goal, it's not going to happen. Soft goals are things I play with and I do, but hard goals are things I make happen, no matter how hard it is or what happens around me. Now, how do you pick a successful hard goal? It has to actually make sense for who you are. It actually has to play to your strength. A hard goal isn't just something you say, I'm going to be a billionaire. Hard goal. Okay, first of all, hard goals should be realistic and work with who you are as a person. They should be the best thing for you to do for who you are as a person. And then you should be the best version of you doing it. You should show up to work and be like this is the thing. And then there will be something there. But until you make it a real hard goal and then you make sure that it actually is healthy for you, it's just going to be a goal you once again tell yourself you're going to do that you're never going to do. Because I've been there, done that, girl. Okay? Been there, done that. So many times, thousands of dollars, I started to make a list of all the hobbies that I was going to turn into businesses, how much money I've been spending. Girl, you want to know where that 60K of credit card debt went? A lot of it went to those attempts at like this big dream. Like I would make an Instagram page and a website before I would even make the first product I was going to sell. You just know that's not serious. You know how I know you're not serious about your business? Because you're busy building social media for it when you don't even have a product. And I know because I was that girly. I know because I was that girly. It was fun building the website or the Tumblr page or the Instagram more than it was even making the product I thought I was going to sell. Chad says, and you're not diagnosed ADHD yet? Listen to me. You just know this is an odd ADHD girly, you know? So again, it's okay to attempt everything. Every failure led me here. But you know, once I realized that's what I was doing, once I got autism diagnosis and ADHD possibly diagnosed, where I was like, okay, I get it. I'm this thing. Yes, chat says, girl, in your failure video, I saw myself so much down to the pilot's lessons. The way I thought I was going to fly planes. The way I thought, maybe I'll fly planes. Call me Amelia Earhart, baby. Ooh, ooh. Earhart. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not going to fly no damn planes. You know what made me realize it? When I was up there and he was like, D2, do. And I was like, what? My dyslexia could not even understand what he was saying. And he's like, repeat it back. And I was like, repeat what back, girl? I already forgot what you said. Like, I knew I wasn't going to fly a plane. The moment I was on the microphone, I was like, do. And I was like, I cannot repeat what you just said back. Niner. D12. Rook to pawn. Like, what? I don't even know what you're saying, dude. And so I knew, I was like, nah, my anxiety can't handle this. My anxiety can't handle it, you know? Anyways, okay, so yeah. Oh, how about the one time I went to FITM for a school field trip because I was convinced I was going to be a fashion designer. Good times. The time I was in fashion club in high school and actually submitted one of my dresses to a fashion show that my grandma helped me do because she was a seamstress. My partner, ADHD, is always just like, we should buy a sewing machine. And I was like, we will do that eventually when we've both decided it's a hard goal. We should do this. We're both like, oh, we should buy this. Oh, we should buy this. And it's like, we're never going to use this. Oh, you know what we said the other day? We're like, oh, we should buy one of those treadmills, like the little treadmills for the house. And I said, I've already had one of those. I never used it. We're not buying it. And we talked about it and we laughed. Oh, if I buy it, if I have it in my house, I'll use it. I've already been there. I didn't use it. I had a treadmill in my old house. I never used it. And by never, I mean, I used it like 10 times. That's not worth the investment. You can't use something 10 times and tell me it's worth it. You know what I mean? But anyways, no judgment. I've been there. When I moved to Croatia, I had like maybe 200 schools or yarn, crochet yarn for crocheting. Literally had to give them away. Just like to buy them because they were pretty and shiny. I like pretty shiny things, girls. Okay. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to this guy who, yeah.
I felt like I was living inside of a dream. People don't understand that, like, it felt like I was in a dream sequence, right? Like, I had posted this video, my application video. I posted that publicly to my social media. I posted it on Facebook. I posted it on Instagram. I posted it on YouTube, right? Everyone in my network kind of knew I had kind of gotten discovered and moved all my shit across the country. For the first time in my life, people actually started to respect me. Instead of like, oh, that's Noah, you know, I don't know what he's doing, but he literally likes videos and sometimes he'll make something that's like kind of funny, but a lot of times it's cringe as hell. For the first time in my life, a lot of those people started to respect me for the first time. And that was very, very, very nice, right? A couple weeks in, you know, like I'm working really, really hard. I remember talking to my father, and my father really, truly did start to respect me for the first time. He started to understand, right? He started to
chasing daddy's approval therapy.
Understand that there was real money in the industry that I had like focused in, right? Because he didn't get it for the longest time. He did not understand.
That's really hard because straight out of high school, my dad's like, be a YouTuber. My dad is the one who suggested I become a YouTuber at 19. Like I graduated at 17, I graduated just after my 18th birthday. I worked for a year and then my dad was like, hey, do you know this girl, Justine? You should be a YouTuber. Yeah, like I'm really lucky. I have very supportive parents. They don't like the content I make, but they always, always, always supported me being a content creator. They're very proud that I'm a content creator. They think it's really admirable that I do this.
finally had my father's approval. And people don't understand how powerful those forces are. People don't understand how that locks you in. That locks you into being railroaded subconsciously into behavior. I just know at that time, I really loved the story that was being written. Swept away to...
Okay, first of all, shout out to skydiving. Also thought I was going to be a skydiver. Also thought I was going to skydive for a living because I went 3 times and I was like, this is my next goal. I'm going to skydive for a living. Also did skydiving 3 times. You know? Chad says, your parents keep me confused always, honestly. Hey, me too. They're the most supportive, unsupportive people I've ever met in my life. They are the most supportive, not supportive people. I can't even, okay? No, listen. I was going to be a pro, oh my God, here's one. I was going to be a pro skateboarder. Elizabeth Burnside. Oh my God, it's been like 20 years. She taught me how to drop in, and I was convinced I would be a skater, right? I was like Cara Beth Burnside. I was convinced I would be a pro skater. Okay. I went to the pro skating events. My mom would take me to girl skating events. I submitted my skateboard video pictures to skate companies to be sponsored. I couldn't even do a kickflip. I could barely ollie, and I was sending in applications to be sponsored on people's teams. I was really young. I was like 13 and 12 years old, okay? But I was like, I'm going to be this person. I'm going to be a pro skater. I saw Beckett like Beckham, and she's the man, and I was like, buy me a soccer ball. Buy me a soccer ball. My mom bought me a soccer ball, and I practiced for like a week straight, and then I was like, bored. I'm over it. Anyways, yeah. Okay. Yes, it's always the movies, which I relate. Okay, listen, I am an autism girly, right? When I see things, I think, oh, do I want that to be my life? And then I figure out, oh, nope. Oh, do I want this to be my life? Nope. I have a cousin in journalism, and they're really successful. And I don't want to say too much because they're kind of famous. And my mom always said, oh, I wish you would work with your cousin. I wish you would go into this industry. Yeah, I don't want to work in the news or journalism or blah, 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 blah. Like, but I'm proud of my cousin. They have a really successful thing they're doing, but like, not me. I could have moved. I could have lived over there. My cousin could have given me a job, but I just don't want to do it. Isn't that interesting? Like, okay. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's something to be said about finding who you are and what works for you. But let me tell you, when I said I've tried everything, you know, Chad says, did you ever doubt your own ability about the things you were the most passionate about? Yeah, I mean, gosh, even guys, I'm a full-time YouTuber and I sit sometimes in my living room like, oh my God, do I even know what I'm doing? I suck at this job. Am I even made for this job? What am I doing with my life? And then I'm like, oh, I should make a podcast about that. Yeah, like you doubt and then you get up and do it anyways. Like you doubt and then you're like, fuck, I'm good at this. You gotta stay, you know, it would be a lie if I told you that I actually have a song I say, I always sing to myself, like, what am I doing with my life? And like, I say that like 100 times a day. And a part of it is just cathartic. But yeah, like, I think when you're always on a journey of discovering who you are, you know that it's going to change. And so then you wonder, is this a thing I'm going to do forever? All I know is this is the thing I'm doing now and I really love it. And I hope I get to do something similar, whatever that is. But, yeah, you know, my partner always says this, the one skill that's what he was saying earlier. Like the one skill I have is being able to be like, oh my God, what am I doing? And then just get up and do it anyways. I can just get up and do it anyways. And that's my one talent. That's my one get up and do it anyways, girls. Just do it anyways. Just do it anyways. Worst case, you fail at something and then you have more data to move off of. You know, just try to do it responsibly. Don't get $60,000 in debt like I did. You know?
To adventure, to go reinvent yourself after being discovered by this extremely successful person who's having a meteoric rise. It was a beautiful story, and I got to be the star of it. So cool. I arrive on my first day, sit down, here's your job offer, sign the letter. And I immediately am
That's crazy. That's crazy. As an adult person, you drove to a place for a job before you knew you had it. Note to self, guys. Okay, let's use this for our own life. If a company offers you a job, you do not move until you have a security of that job. You use the proof of that job to get yourself a good apartment, proving you will have said income. Okay, so if you're moving out of your mom and dad's house for the first time, you've got a guarantee of a job out of college. The job has given you a signed contract. You can use that contract with your apartment building as proof of income. Okay, you can negotiate with the people around you. Say like, I'm starting a new job. Here's my official contract. Here's the money I'll be earning. You know, you can be like, hey, can I get a free month on my lease if I sign for 2 years? Hey, can I get a free month on my lease if I sign for a year? Hey, can I get a free month? If like negotiate with everybody, because the worst they can say is no. Hey, I'm willing to sign for a year and a half. You got like, I'm looking for apartments with kind of deals to help me with the first month's rent. Here's my proof of income. Here's my proof I have a job. The fact that he drove before he had the contract, it's not a yes until I sign. It's not a yes until I sign.
like, that's kind of weird because I've been asking for this for weeks. And now on like one of my first days, like, you know, you immediately have this. And now I'm being like pressured to sign it. That's weird. By the way, also, if you're a lawyer or someone else, like send me an email. If you haven't.
What do you mean? What does he mean?
Being like pressured to sign it. That's weird. By the way, also, if you're a lawyer or someone else, like send me an email. If you have anything to say about this situation, you want to help me in any way at all, send me an email. Contact.
I don't want to be this person because if you know, you know. But you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of a guy I've dated. He's got a little bit of that vibe. Red flag. Do you know what I'm saying? Has anyone been around that long? He is giving a little bit of X vibes where I'm like, everyone's fault but mine. Always everyone's fault but mine. My dad issues, my this issues, anything but therapy. Anything but therapy.
At noahchrysler.com because I'm terrified. But
yes.
you know, I've read so much.
He is giving man-child. It's giving man-child.
About this that like I know that like there's calculated risk here. And I've heard that like if I just tell the truth and I just focus on telling the truth and articulating the truth as highly as I can, right, with verifiable facts, then I'm probably okay. So that's what I'm going to try to do.
Okay, hold on. Before we get into Act 2, I was a little behind, caught up. Sorry if you answered this already, but how do you tell the difference between a hard goal and an ADHD goal when your brain thinks the ADHD goal is a hard goal? Okay, this is how I do it. It might not work, or you might not know enough about yourself yet, because I took many years to figure it out for myself. It took me a long time to figure it out. Sit with yourself alone in a room and really be honest with yourself. Do you want to crochet 10 scarves a day and go hunt clients down and get arthritis in your fingers to make $30K a year? Be honest with yourself. Are you going to wake up every day and do those 10 hours of hustling you got to do to be a content creator? Be real with yourself, not with anybody else, with you. No one's going to hear you. Be honest. Are you really going to do that? Okay. And then ask yourself, does this thing just sound exciting and new and I want to do it because it's a special interest? Or is it something that should just be a hobby? If you're make your soft goals hobbies, make your hard goals hard goals. Things that are going to be hobbies, that's for fun. And make sure you're responsibly engaging with your hobbies. Don't financially go bankrupt for a hobby, right? But be honest with yourself. Okay? Like, are you really going to do that? Discord said, I'm going to do this for becoming a parent. Ask yourself, do I really want to teach someone what a vulva is and labia? Do I really want to teach somebody how to clean their foreskin? Do I really want to teach somebody to wipe their butt cleanly? Do I really want to sit in a room with stinky baby diapers for at least 5, maybe 2 I don't know how long, 2 years, maybe a year and a half, depends on your baby. Do I really want to deal, with puberty? Like, ask yourself, do I really want to do that? Okay. And that's okay, whatever the answer is. Okay. Chad says, do you really not want to sleep for more than 3 hours at a time for a month? Yeah. And that's you only can be honest with yourself. I can't you have to be honest. Is this what I want? Is this really what I want? Because sometimes the things we do for hobbies is easy until it has to become a job. And then it's like, I don't want to do this for a job. And that's the thing. Sometimes we think, oh, I'll make my hobby into a job because I want to do my hobby all the time. But sometimes you do your hobby because you're not thinking. But, you know, you have to make a decision about which one is which, but you have to be radically, radically, radically honest with yourself, you know, because only you can know. Only you can know. Like if you're going to be an artist, okay, what kind of art? What's the medium? How much money do you expect to make? And who's your clientele? What kind of a job do we really want? And how does this work when you're 80? What are you doing when you're 80? What does that look like? Where does that get you? And that's okay if you don't know yet, but being really, really honest with yourself is where it's at. Because you're the only one who can answer that question. You're the only one who can be honest about whether or not you're going to do it. I have a friend who's a professional ballet dancer, and she is on her feet dancing for like 10 hours a day. And I was like, oh, yeah, like I'm not doing that. You couldn't pay me enough to do that. And she does it for a ballet salary, which if you know anything about ballet is not a lot. Some of these people do it for free. Do you know some ballet companies don't even pay their dancers? And they're on their feet every day for like 10 hours a day. So ask yourself, like, am I really going to do that? Or do I just like the aesthetic? Because if you're like me, it's mostly I just like the aesthetic. I really like aesthetic, but I'm not really going to do it, girl. I'm not really going to do it, you know? All right. Hope that helps.
Cool, whatever. I get the offer letter. I sign the offer. Cool. I take a bunch of pictures with Caleb Hammer. It's my first couple days there. I'm literally freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm living in a dream. Holy shit. Cool. Couple days go by. Caleb has this idea. Graham Stephan's coming into town. Hey, Noah, I know this is weird, but like Graham's coming into town. We should do something fun and special for, you know, Graham coming into town. What if we audited you? I immediately go, no. Nope. The reason why I originally said no was because I had just dealt with the trauma of, I'd worked for years trying to build my own marketing agency, and then it failed. And then so I had to go lick my wounds by going to work for another agency. And I was working for that agency for 3 months. And then at my 90-day review, after I met all of the outrageous goals that these people had set for me, at my 90-day review, they had made a decision to terminate me and let me go, right? Because they had lost this big client in a situation that I believe had nothing to do with me. But whatever. They lose this big client and I'm let go of that job at my 90-day review. And that situation was so deeply tied to my finances.
Ain't no way. No. I don't believe anything he says. Sorry. I've dealt with too many men like this. I don't believe anything he says.
Is that it was like, there's no possible way that we could avoid talking about that if I was on financial audit. So I think about all of this. And then I eventually go to Caleb and I'm like,
oh, pause. YouTube, pause.
Like, or I go to Clara actually, and I tell Clara, I'm like, you know, Clara, like the reason why I'm so hesitant to do this is because in my application video, I don't get into about how I worked for 90 days at this previous job and then they let me go, you know, and we didn't really talk about it in my interview because like you guys didn't really probe on that at all. I'm very reluctant to talk about any of this because like how uncomfortable would it be for me to reveal that information to my employer, like on his fucking talk show in front of all those people, especially in front of Graham Stephan. But anyway, whatever. Eventually I think to myself, okay, I've just moved my life across the country. I'm already committed to this, pot committed. Do it for
exactly. Chad says he's the most conveniently unfortunate person. Listen, I am usually pretty good generally, I think at telling when a person is like truly like a victim of something and I need to be compassionate. And when I'm like, I smell bullshit and I just feel like he's giving bullshit. I could be wrong, but I'm just not getting any, he's that specific category of person when they talk. If I was on a first date with this person, I'd be like, no, thank you. No second date.
For the plot, right? Do it for the story, right? And also I think to myself,
no wholesomeness, no sweetness, no thoughtfulness, no consideration, no compassion, no wisdom, no introspection. It's giving everyone's fault but mine. No humility.
If I'm going to be recruiting people to go on this show, the most powerful thing that I can do is believe in this show. I don't know if you know about sales, but like when you're selling something and you believe in the product, it's way easier to sell the thing. If I'm going to be recruiting for this show, I might as well fucking go on this show myself, see what it's all about, right? Like, is this actually going to help me? Because if it actually helps me, then like it's going to make my job super easy to go recruit for this show. So I go on the show. I agree to go on the show. Now, I will say, you know, this was consensual, right? This was something that I agreed to do. I agreed to go on that show. That was on me. I will say that, like, you know, it should have been done more intentionally, right? Like, we should have gone in with a plan. There was no plan. There was no plan. It was the camera's on. Let's go. So we filmed that audit. I didn't sleep at all the night before because I was freaking out, because my greatest shame, the debt that I had, you know, my greatest shame was going to be paraded in front of all of these people that they don't want the best for me. I go on the show, I do the show, I get no sleep. Between not having any sleep and being so starstruck by, like, I'm sitting across from Graham Stephan.
Chess says, why does his camera move like that? I think he's using that feature on his phone, which I just discovered it's on my phone, where it zooms in and it follows you. And people have been doing it for, like, an effect. I think it's just it's Gen Z coded.
And who I've watched for years, right? I'm sitting across from Caleb Hammer, who has recently decided to completely transform my life, right? I'm sitting across from these two people as they're digging through.
Caleb Hammer, who significantly decided to transform my life. How did he significantly transform your life?
Through my greatest shame and having to explain myself on no sleep. It was fucking crazy. Like, people don't get it. In a city where I know nobody, in a city where I've, like, gone and, like, you know, completely isolated myself from any support network, I'm suddenly just, like, in it now. So I do that. There's even a clip that I recorded after I went on the show. I originally was so excited. I was so excited. I'm thinking to myself,
you know what? That's interesting, because Chet says, I know someone like this and they do go to therapy, but I feel like his therapist may be enabling him. But even having that thought makes me feel like an ass. Well, there is a stereotype that therapists seem to struggle with narcissists that aren't willing to get better. And anyone who's not willing to get better but manipulates therapy as, like, a way to get social credit or learn the language, like, it's going to happen. Right? Like, it's going to happen, right? So it feels like going to therapy isn't enough if you're not getting better. It's like, oh, my friend goes to the gym, but he's not improving. Well, then it doesn't matter that he goes to the gym. If you're going to therapy and you're not getting better, what does it matter if you go to therapy? It doesn't matter unless you're getting better. Like, that's kind of the point. Otherwise, a big part of it is, like, you and the person you're doing it with. So it's the quality of the gym, maybe, but it's also the quality of the food. It's the quality of your life. It's also just like a mental struggle we all have. Are you really ready to do therapy, or are you not? The first therapist I had, she and I were not aligned. We were ill-matched. But even I wasn't truly ready to get into it until my second therapist, when I felt more connected to her. And I was like, I'm ready. I can do this. And you have to be ready, and it has to be the right therapist. And you guys have to meet. So you know what I mean? Like, Chat said it right now. He's a professional victim. He's giving professional victim. You know how they always blame leftists for being professional victims? Look, there are professional victims in every category of person, but the category of professional victim is everyone else's fault and never mine.
Myself, like, man, there's a lot of moments in this conversation where I'm, like, legitimately funny or interesting, or I have interesting insights. And so there's going to be people in Caleb's audience that are going to be like, hey, this guy's actually fucking cool, right? At this point, I had made videos for a decade and nobody had actually recognized me at all. And look, like, I consented to all of this, right? I consented to all of this, but, like, I look back on that situation and I just think to myself, like, wow, like, what a ham-fisted way to handle that situation. Clearly, there should have been, like, an adult in the room that's like, hey, like, this guy is clearly, like, emotionally compromised, right? Like, he's clearly being swept up by fame and agreeing to things that he probably shouldn't. They're probably.
What are you going to do with all these men? Hi, it's me, Jordan Peterson. It's been a long time, but I just want you to know I'm really thinking about you. I'm thinking about Ethan. I'm thinking about Hassan. I'm thinking about all these boys out here who are really struggling. And I just want you to know your feelings are valid. I really want you to know that lesbian style shirt you're wearing, it's very cool, man. I like it. Listen, okay? You just need to watch out for these Machiavellian mothers, cutting off the tits of their daughters, because that's really what this is about. Okay? These Machiavellian mothers will probably encourage you to wear that shirt. These boys, what are we going to do without all these men?
Probably not in his best interest. And so, like, let's at least do this with some sort of intention. Let's do this carefully so that this person doesn't grow to regret this. Now, in hindsight, I wish that had existed and it didn't. But whatever, I went on the show and I'm proud. It was brave as fuck. I don't care what you say.
What?
It was brave as fuck for me to do that. Like, you know, you can be like, you know, there's like.
Oh, yes. These brave men. I've always said to myself, you got to be brave. Like Kermit the Frog. You got to stick a hand right up your ass and move your mouth like you're singing hallelujah. Ah, yes. These brave souls.
You know, is he stupid or is he brave? Well, you know, let's not split hairs, right? He's both. He's a little bit of both. This video is also that, I hope. I hope this video is like, you know, is he dumb as hell or is he brave as fuck? Pick one. I don't know. Cool. I go on the show, whatever. The reality behind the scenes. When I was originally hired, I was the lowest on the totem pole. I don't think had ever managed anybody before. But for the first couple of weeks, as I was like, they were saying jump and I was saying how high, right? Like that was like when our relationship was decent. For those first couple months there, I was working at least 60-hour weeks, right? I had gotten an apartment that was less than a
by 20 Kermit the Frogs.
Do you believe you are Jordan Peterson?
What do you mean by believe?
I don't know if you're copying my voice or what.
That's the circular definition.
That's the circular definition.
You stake your life
You stake your
on it,
life on it.
and you die
And you
for
die
it.
for it. I feel like I'm talking to myself here.
How much do you know about me?
Hypothetically, if you were born Jordan Peterson, but you talked like Kermit the Frog, that would just make you a human with a frog voice.
You're generating an impossible, restricted, hypothetical, with no precursors to back me into.
I can't
Beautiful.
tell them apart.
Wow. Amazing. Wow. I'm going to go ahead and share that in the chat so you guys can check out that channel.
mile from the studio so that I could just focus on putting all of my time in at the studio. I have a dog, and so like I wanted to make sure that I could, if I needed to let my dog out, I could go let my dog out, and then I could go back to work so that I could really just focus all of my time.
Fun fact, when I moved to Croatia, we were still doing all the legal paperwork and doing my visa paperwork. And our plan B was if they sent me back to America for any reason, let's say the paperwork wasn't complete or something, which, by the way, my mom really came through because when I came to Croatia, I forgot a document. And I was like, please go to LA early in the morning and get me this document. I'm so sorry. You have to drive to Los Angeles. And she was like, okay, I got it. And her and my sister got in the car and drove at like 6 a.m. to LA, went to the courthouse, got me a document, sent it to me ASAP to Croatia. So I could, I just forgot a piece of paper. It was crazy. Anyways, Indiana, what was I going to do with my cat if I had to go back? Well, obviously she was saying Croatia. He has a doggo and he just like, you know what I mean? Like you got to think about these things. What am I going to do with my dog? What if I get fired? Who do I go back to? Did he have a plan B after getting fired? Because like, that's the other thing to think about. You get a new job somewhere, make sure you think about the backup plan. What if you get a new job in a new city and it falls through? He just got fired from a job after 30 days or 90 days, sorry, his 90-day review. What if it happens again with Caleb? You know what I mean? He didn't even have a plan. I have a plan. I have an idea. I have like an idea of a plan. It's kind of like a plan of a plan. I kind of have an idea. It's like a plan. That's it. He's just like, I got a plan, sir.
Time doing this. If you talk to my parents at this time, this is when my dad truly started to respect me because my dad is an
That's what it is. A concept of a plan. I couldn't remember it. I've got concepts of a plan. Lots of concepts, lots of plans.
Entrepreneur, and when he was building his business, he was working 80-hour weeks every single week. And so he saw the level that I was grinding at this, right? And he began to truly respect me. And I think everybody at that company started to truly respect me too, as they saw the dedication that I was bringing to my work on the show. Every week we would try to film 4 episodes, right? And at the beginning of my employment, before I communicated that it was an absolutely unrealistic amount of work, I was responsible for preparing all of the finances for everybody for every single episode. For the first week, that was the plan, was to have me just prepare everything as well as do all of guest coordination, all casting. So I was going to do essentially all of the casting as well as all of the document preparation and all of the budgeting for these people before they got on the show, right? So I would go through their statements line by line, right? And I would make these budgets for them. And then I would also be on the phone, constantly calling people on the phone.
This is a pretty hard job for a neurodivergent person. You would have to have a very big special interest in what they have you doing. So if he's ADHD, I think he said he's ADHD, or maybe he was just making a joke. If you're neurodivergent especially, you've got to play to your strength, because you need to pick a job that's not eventually going to feel crushing under the weight of the stress of what you have to do. Nothing about my job is technically stressful. Do you know what I mean? It's exhausting. I'm mentally taxed, but I'm not. The most stressful part of my job is the being stalked or harassed. But my technical job, editing and computer work and stuff, that's okay. But if I was doing numbers all day, if I was interviewing people all day, if I was doing people's financial sheets, the job itself would feel horrible. I could not do this job. And I know myself, I could never do this job that he is required to do. Somebody out there can do it. It ain't me. I couldn't even do it if it was 1 day a week. That's how much I know myself. I ain't even doing it 1 day a week, girl. So I know one of the reasons YouTube became a hard goal of mine is I knew I liked to edit. I knew I could keep it up. I knew that I could perform on camera. I knew I liked to talk to people. I knew I always had something to say. Girl can't shut up. And I was like, okay, girl can't shut up. Special interest, current events, pop culture, philosophy, YouTuber. Like, I always wanted to be a radio host. Let's just do YouTube, but let's do YouTube for real. Not in this, undiagnosed suicidal way. Let's really do it for real, for real. And that worked out, Yes, Yapper Nation, exactly. So with him, I could imagine they gave him this job description and he didn't just lie to himself about being able to actually do the job. Because did you even think, can I actually do this? Can you even do this? Do you know that you can do this?
Literally every single day, right? My day was call people on the phone, right, to cast people for the show, and then do finances, right? And I was busting my ass, right? It was such a ridiculous amount of work that there was no possible way I could get it done within 40 hours a week. I was very locked in for the first couple of weeks, right? Working a shit fuck.
Very ADHD of him to be like, I'm locked in for the first couple of weeks. Yeah, we all are.
Load, trying to get this show to happen. I eventually tell them like, hey, look, this is unsustainable and I'm going to freak the fuck out because it was ruining my life. I'm like, look, we need to build a casting system and let me build a casting system or I'm going to lose my mind. Also, we need another hire to handle the numbers because I'm going to lose my mind.
So he came into an established, successful show and wanted to improve upon it with no proof of concept. Got it.
If I have to do all of the casting and all of the numbers for every single one of these people, I'm going to have a mental fucking breakdown. And so I was not met with support. I remember building the casting.
He said, this is how it felt emotionally.
System on my own time. I came in on the weekend. I came in on my birthday, actually. I was working on my birthday. I came in because I had no friends, right? I had no friends and that's not their fault necessarily, right? But like, I was just like, at this time in my life, like, that's what I was doing is I was just like constantly working for this fucking business. So I came in on my birthday and all these other weekends and I fucking built them a casting system. And I built them a casting system that worked so well that it was undeniable, right? That was what I needed because like this was not a tool that I was doing for a pat on the head. This was a tool that I was going to use to try to reduce my workload from 60, 80 hour weeks down to like a reasonable 40 hours, right? So this
with peace and love, guys, no producer entertainer is working 40 hours a week on YouTube. I'm not working 40 hours a week. I work a solid 10 hours, 6 days a week, period. 10 hours, 6 days a week, period. That's what I work. Saturdays are my days off. Sometimes I work Saturdays, period. And I don't even have a high production show. If I was Caleb and I had a high production show, you're not working 40 hours a week. Did Caleb say you're working 40 hours a week? Was that your contract? Why is Caleb letting you work after hours? Why are you working after hours? Right? What are you doing? Like, why do you think the most famous streamers are streaming 8 to 10 hours a day, period, 7 days a week? And that's why they hire other people to do clips and stuff. See, I'm doing editing, I'm doing all that other stuff, so I have to run it myself. But yeah, like, how do you think content creators make so much content? We're always working. Always. So that's the joke, right? Oh, I work for myself, I'll have more time off. Joke's on you, you'll have more time not off. Right? So like, what was he thinking? Now, I'm not saying if his contract said 40 hours, then he should be working 40 hours. I want to make that abundantly clear. I'm not trying to be pro-employer, anti-employee. If his contract said 40 hours a week, period, and this is the pay you're getting and it's a fair wage, then I expect him to work 40 hours a week. But I want to know what the contract was, how much was he being paid, and what was the expectation?
This was a very important system to me. So I built out my casting system. That's when things started to change. I think everybody in the company eventually started to see the effect that I was having on the company as like numbers were going up. There was like a month where like every single video that we were producing was getting more and more views than the last one. At this time, I was very upset because like the audience was beginning to blame me for certain changes. And it felt to me like I was not allowed to tell the audience the changes that I was responsible for and the ones that I was not responsible for. My first ever cast for the show, I brought on this couple. During my original audit, I talk about how I thought what we were doing was essentially creating a millennial version of the Dave Ramsey show. Dave Ramsey for Gen Alpha and Gen Z and millennials. That's what I kind of thought we were doing. And so I remember casting this couple. I'm thinking to myself, great, this is going to be a very interesting episode. I've got this couple. I interviewed them over the phone a ton. I talked to them over the phone. These people are fun, right? They're outgoing, extroverted people who are constantly goofing around, right? They're both a little neurodivergent, but I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be a fun episode, right? Their finances aren't a complete and total dumpster fire, but like these are fun people who like are making mistakes, but who are trying to get better. And so I bring these people in and I put them on the show. This is my first ever cast. podcast. I'm full of fucking nerves, okay? For some reason during recording, Caleb is not bringing it, right? He's just like not there, right? At the beginning, he starts aggressive and he starts like, he's locked in for a little bit, but like 10 minutes in, the steam just like melts out of the train. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that sucks. Like, I was so excited. The shoot ends eventually. I handle thumbnails and stuff, and we do off-ramp, off-boarding, I guess, and we say goodbye to these people. And I am pulled into an office to discuss the episode. And Caleb, in my opinion, from my recollection, I came away from this situation with a recollection and a feeling that
I remember feeling rattled and afraid. I don't know why he's censoring himself here.
I was afraid. I remember feeling fear. I remember feeling disillusionment, because I started to realize, like, Caleb's main arguments boiled down to this. He had just hired me, right? He had taken all this financial risk on to hire me. His assumption was that the quality of the guests, his term for quality, right, was going to increase after he made this giant thing, right? And then he just went and did that conversation, and he realized that the quality of the guests that he was looking for, right, that was not being met. This was the first true understanding that I had of this. I thought we were making the Dave Ramsey show. Debt-free Scream, Dave.
If you wanted to work for conservative Christian, you should have worked for conservative Christian. I think the part of the Dave Ramsey show he's talking about is like the wholesomeness of it, where they talk about people's families and they're really sweet. They're like, hi, how are you? Do the debt-free scream. I don't know if you guys know that about Dave Ramsey, but Dave Ramsey has a family-focused show because they're pro-life Christians. Go work for a pro-life Christian. You're working for Caleb Hammer. Not that I'm a big Caleb Hammer fan. I'm not trying to come for Caleb, but like, you know what I mean? Like, you miscalculated, sir. What made you think Caleb Hammer, who talks shit on Dave Ramsey, is Dave Ramsey? Do you know? Yeah, Chet says I was thinking him at more down to earth and not like Jerry Springer. I agree. I think that is what he's trying to say, right? Like, that's another way to say it. Yeah, I agree with you. He's trying to say like more down to earth. But the dilemma is like, I'm sorry, have you watched Caleb Hammer? What part of Caleb Hammer is down to earth? What part of Caleb Hammer is like, I can't watch Caleb because he does that high-pitched sound. What? What do you mean? You went to McDonald's? Like, I can't handle it. It triggers my brain. I was like, I don't like that. I know it's for theater, so I don't care. I'm not judging it morally. I'm just saying I'm not the consumer for the content. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. No, if you wanted something wholesome, you should have signed up to be a nun. Like, what are you talking about?
Help me out. I'm trying my best. Hey, that's okay. I'm old as hell. Here's some Southern wisdom about how to guide you across the finish line, right? That's not what we were doing. In my opinion, instead it became clear to me that like we were not looking for people that we could help. In my opinion, my job became find people who had negative marks on their report card so that Caleb could point them out to him on camera. We need a report card filled with misbehavior so that like during this fucking 90-minute shoot, which by the way, they don't need to be 90 minutes, but okay, they're 90 minutes. And I didn't understand that. Until Caleb gave me the impression of somebody who was very angry and there was much volume. I think that's the appropriate way for me to say that.
The machine's true
when
purpose.
I first started working there, I was in this illusion. I really thought that what we were trying to do was build a modern version of the Dave Ramsey show. Say what you will about Dave Ramsey.
If he says that one more time, I'm going to vote Trump. Just kidding. Don't. I was joking. Jesus, even saying it made me feel like I said Voldemort's name. It was a joke. It was a joke. It was a joke.
I disagree with a fair amount of what Dave Ramsey says, but at the end of the day, I look at Dave Ramsey as the pinnacle of this industry. Dave Ramsey has done this for like...
Look, women say this all the time. I don't like Trump. I don't like Donald, but eventually they pee on me. So what does this really mean? If you're going to pee on me, don't you like me even a little bit? I mean, maybe you're peeing on me for other reasons, but let's be honest. Maybe you like me a little, just like a little.
50 years or close to it. He is the king of this space. People trust him. His foundation is an ethical bedrock. He points to the Bible. The borrower...
Who is this man? What is this? No wonder nobody cared about this video. Who on the internet is going to defend you? Dave Ramsey team would hate you. Okay, Dave Ramsey's team would hate this man. Okay? And the progressives aren't going to like him. Nobody on the internet is going to back this man. That's why this video posted 2 weeks ago has 45,000 views. And check this out. It says, mod moderator note, who is probably just himself, we're really grateful for the thoughtful feedback, even if it's critical. There's no way there's a we. It's just him and his dick, I tell you. But if your comment was removed, it's likely because it was insulting or mean, not because it challenged ideas. The space is about discourse, not cruelty. We're not doing shame here. Thank you for keeping this space nuanced and care are actually possible. Thank you for keeping this space where nuance and care is actually possible. Yeah. Chad says, I say this in the kindest way I can. This is the type of thing you should not share with the internet, but you should share with a therapist. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Or a slave to the lender. Spend less than you make. Those two things, those two values that Dave Ramsey has makes it so that every single episode of Dave Ramsey's show is at least somewhat valuable. His value system is based in the Bible, and therefore you can trust him. And people do. Like, you look at his empire, he has what? I think his facility is worth like $400 million, and it's paid for in cash. I looked up to Dave.
We get it. You want to suck Dave Ramsey's dick. We get
Dave
it.
for a very long time, and I was excited to work with Millennial Dave. Here's when I start to become disillusioned, okay? I'm thinking about like big waves I can make, right? Because I've just gotten there, right? And I want to prove my value, prove my worth, right? So I'm thinking about big waves that I can make as I come into this company. I look at the top most
Yeah, why didn't he just apply to work for Dave? Because Dave would have sniffed him out. Dave Ramsey would have sniffed this man out.
Episodes of all time, and there's a few that stick out to me. And I'm thinking to myself, if we could just get these people back on the show, the audience is familiar with who these people are, and these episodes are going to do gangbuster views if we can just get these people back on the show. So the first one, essentially, we learned through another guest of the show that this person that was a former guest, one of the most viewed guests of all times, she's teaching a class in Austin, and that class is open for anybody to attend. And I say jokingly to the office, and it's half a joke, half not a joke, but I'm like, oh my God, I should go try to see if I can recruit this guest to come back on the show by going to her class. And I said it without like fully wanting to do it, right? Because like saying that and doing that are two very different things. But when I said that, like Caleb really loved that idea. In my opinion, Caleb grabbed onto that idea and he really, really wanted me to
From my recollection, this is how those conversations felt.
do this. In my opinion. And so I'm like, kind of on the fence about it. I'm like, and I'm excited, right? And I want to prove that like I'm a go-getter. So I'm like, okay, like whatever. Like, but I'm as it's becoming more and more real, I'm like, fuck, like this is kind of crazy, right? I'm very nervous. We were gonna film this for Caleb's vlog so that this could
This is the loneliness epidemic right here, baby.
go in the vlog. And that never ended up making it into the vlog because I never sent in the footage because the situation disturbed me to my core.
What?
I end up going to this class after Caleb strongly encourages me to do it. I go to this class and I sit through the whole thing. Now at this time too, like I had no friends. I had no friends at all.
What did he say? He said he had no what? The loneliness epidemic looks like this.
And so I go to this class that is very much about like spirituality. And so I go to it with a lot of reservations, right? And I'm in Caleb's mindset of like, I'm going to film this vlog for this thing. I'm sorry. I've never really...
Wait, what category of misogyny are we giving this? Nice guy, but conservative. I'm a nice guy. My dad just doesn't believe in me. I'm a nice guy, but my bosses never give me a chance, even though I transformed their companies. I'm a nice guy, but when I saved up like my money, I had to spend it on relocation. I'm a nice guy, but I have no friends. I'm a nice guy. Like I do the right thing. I make everyone's life around me better, but for some reason, I'm always fucked in the end. Something like that. Something like that. And then he's like, why don't women like me? Why don't I have friends? But like, it's different. It's like, it's not even, it's false confidence, insecure. It's not like pathetic, but it's pathetic. I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's not like, it's more like, yeah, I know. I'm like really great and really smart. And people just don't understand me at a higher level because like I'm so deep and people just don't get it. Fedora tip. He definitely watches Asmongold. 100%.
spoken about this publicly before. So this story is very difficult for me to tell because like I feel terrible about this still. Anyway, we make it to the end of the class, right? I don't reveal at the beginning of the class that I'm working for Caleb or whatever, but what I didn't expect was to really, really, truly enjoy this class, right? It felt so wonderful to be surrounded by people who didn't have to like put on this like persona. It really genuinely felt like everybody was going to take their masks off and have like a vulnerable moment together. That was what the whole point of this class was to create a safe space where things...
He's giving Wolf of Wall Street is one of my favorite movies. He's giving... He's giving Wolf of Wall Street's my favorite movie.
We could talk about weird stuff. I was invited into this like cocoon of vulnerable people sharing their real selves, and I shared my real self with those people.
No,
At the
stop.
end of
Chat says I was about to type that out too. Same page, girl. Same page.
the class, and I revealed to her that I work for Caleb Hammer. And I watch this woman's face. I get this weird set of sentences out of my mouth where I'm like, hey, you know, I'm here on behalf. I work for Caleb Hammer.
Wait, pause. He was at a spiritual event, and the girl he was seeing had been on Caleb before, and she looked shocked. Is it the one girl we reviewed? Was it the girl who was like, she said she was on shrooms, but she wasn't feeling good? Because I heard she came back on Caleb Hammer. Is it her? Is it her? Oh, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Is it her? Do you guys know who I'm talking about? I only say that because I haven't seen most of the guests. It's just the only one I remember. She really needs to get grounded. She came on very emotional and cried. And I was like, girl, this is not it. You know, listen, do you know why I like Dave Ramsey better than Caleb Hammer? Even though because Dave Ramsey is a conservative. Dave Ramsey is more grounded. Religious people are more grounded than secularists who don't have a philosophical grounding. If you're, you know, it's not, I know that sounds crazy because they literally believe in God, but hear me out. They're just more grounded. But again, I burnt out on Dave Ramsey because like, I'm just not interested in his values and I'm not interested in the way he talks. But like Chelsea is always saying this on the Financial Diet. She's like, I know the world is melting, but y'all gotta focus. Like, I know everything is collapsing, but you got to focus. And like a big part of it is like, she's trying to ground you. She's trying to say, hey, I know it's bad. Focus. It was bad for our ancestors. It's gonna be bad for us. Focus. Focus the same way your ancestors focused. Focused. But then I saw a TikTok the other day and the guy was like, so let me get this straight. Thousands of years of my ancestry and not one of you did anything with it. Not one of you left me with generational wealth. Not one of you left me with a legacy. Not one single one of you left me with anything. And I was like, damn, that's kind of true though. All of our families, all of our ancestry, and our people didn't do shit. And then I'm like, damn. And then here we come out into the world. We're like, it's going to be me. It's going to be me. Like, this is us. Millennials come out the womb like, it's going to be me. Millionaire status. Actually, we're in a housing crisis and you're not going to be able to afford kids. But sure, kid, it's going to be you. Okay, thank you.
Trying to get you back onto the show. I can offer you more money. You know, please come back on the show. Will you consider it? Here's my email. I know this is weird. I give her my pitch, right? And the look on this woman's face was something that I will never forget.
Oh, relax
The
there,
look
bro.
on this woman's face was one of intrusion, right? Intrusion, betrayal. And she was afraid of me. That's the thing that I think really fucked with me. We went from being super tight to immediate fear. She immediately was terrified of me. And I didn't understand how that was possible because I was living in this illusion. I was living this illusion that like everyone loved this show. The show was built.
Chad said his smile makes me uncomfortable. I think it's a tick. I've been wondering what it is. It could be a neurodivergent tick. I think that's what it is. I think it's a neurodivergent tick. I could be wrong, but I think it is. I think.
Built to help people with their finances, right? But yet I was speaking to one of the victims.
Because it was making me uncomfortable, but then I was like, I wonder what it is. But I have Chad said a nervous smile. I do it. I have a nervous smile I make, especially when I feel safe with my partner. It's a pretty ugly. It kind of makes my face ugly, but I do it only in front of him. The fact that he's doing it, or I do it in front of really safe people, but the fact that he's doing it on camera he might not know he's doing it. Right? He's neurodivergent, so he might not know he's doing it. By the way, like neurodivergency, for real, seriously, zoom out with me. Neurodivergency is real. It's disabling. It's not something you can just fucking run 20 miles a day. Like, what's his name? David Goggins. Go to a doctor. Get therapy. Get help. Understand you're neurodivergent. Your life will change for the better. When you understand your brain works differently, you cannot overpromise to your employers. You must pick a job that works for you. You got to like follow your passion, but be reasonable about it. Ground yourself. Like we just so downplay ADHD. Like it's not a disability, and I know ADHD, I see ADHD people do it all the time. and you all are being so dishonest. You know for a fact it is fucking hard, because if you really had to compete the way other people are competing, you know you can't, unless you really get lucky. You know, lucky in a very specific way. People keep looking at Elon like, oh, that's like, he's autistic, he must be a savant. Elon doesn't do anything but put his name on shit. Like, you have to understand that Elon doesn't do anything. He was lucky, born into the right family, with the right connections, with the right networking, and he could put his name on fucking shit. That is not the same thing as somebody who's physically, mentally taking on the load of doing things, right? Like, this is different. And so if you're a person who's telling yourself, I want to be like this person, I want to be a person who's out here doing this, like, you got to understand, like, are they doing it? How many resources do they have? What medication are they on? Who's doing the other work? Like, I think that sometimes we ignore it because, you know, the world, like, I have a friend who I'm pretty sure is autistic, and I'm like, go get diagnosed, because you keep running into these problems that are just explained by autism. And if you're autistic, your life will be easier. And they were like, yeah, but I don't really need it. Like, I don't need it. And I was like, but everything you struggle with in life is most likely autism. And as long as you ignore the diagnosis, you're going to ignore any of the tools that autistic people use to get better. Because my friend isn't the kind of friend that will utilize the tool unless they know. And that's why getting a diagnosis can be helpful for certain brains, because then they won't change their life. But every struggle they have is like neurodivergency related. I'm like, go make sure you're not, because if you aren't, then you aren't. But if you are, you are. And your life could get literally better. And that's the problem, is like, until you're ready to make your life better and to see in which ways you operate differently, you're not going to do it. And look, it's stigma based. My friend doesn't want the stigma, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them for not wanting the stigma, right? Like, a lot of people in our lives don't want the stigma. They don't want it on their paperwork. They don't want it in this job market. They don't want anything that makes them less viable of a candidate. And I said, what about dating? I said, what if you're neurodivergent and you're dating somebody and like they're really ableist and they're like, ooh, I would never date XYZ. But since you aren't out, they date you, and then you get diagnosed later. Are they going to be supportive? You know? Like, one of the things I will say about my partners, because they're already neurodivergent, we talked about that. What about future diagnoses? How do you feel about future diagnoses? Because sometimes people really say, oh, they're cool with something until you actually are diagnosed with it. Example, oh, I'm cool dating an autistic partner. You're not autistic, right? No, I'm not autistic. Oh, okay, yeah, I'd be cool dating one. And then you get diagnosed 5 years later, or reverse, you're on a first date. Hey, I'm autistic. Is that okay? I don't really want to date an autistic person. Okay. Same person, different scenario, forces different answer, unless they really don't mind dating somebody who's autistic. The point is that it's easy to say you're okay with something when you're not faced with it. Anyways.
Of this show. And that person had a very, very, very different view of the thing that I had just moved across the country for and stuck my reputation on the line for. In my outline here, it says I wasn't recruiting, I was hunting. Another thing that bothered me was that I wasn't aware if the audience understood what the fuck I was actually doing. I wasn't sure if they understood how like predatory what my role ultimately was, right? Find someone who's going to make for good entertainment on this show. I wasn't aware of that. And then I would like look in the vlog comments, because at this time we were making a vlog and there was a lot of drama around the vlog. I didn't like the way Caleb would edit me in the vlog, right? And I would tell him that, and ultimately the vlog ended because I got so upset with like, it's like, Caleb, like you're painting me out to be like, there was one specifically that stands out to me, and that is the conversation around Gia. The thing that bothered me with the vlog was that there was internal pressure put on to me that was implicit, but Caleb would, you know, use the vlog. There's one moment in the vlog.
Ooh, wait, chat said, are you replying to the smile? You said true, could definitely be that, and maybe I'm just picking up smugness like Draco Malfoy, but I've definitely been looked down for the Uncanny Valley. You know who he reminds me of is not Draco. It's because Draco's right. He's smug, he's insecure, he's arrogant, he's all the things. He is more like I want to say Draco's dad, but that's not quite right. He is smug, he is arrogant, he's also deeply insecure, but he's not like Potter. He's more like he wants to be Draco's friend, and Draco won't let him in the crew. He wants to be Draco, but he's not cool enough to be Draco. He doesn't have the finances. He doesn't have the reputation. He doesn't have the family lineage. He wants to be Draco Malfoy, and he resents that he's not Draco Malfoy. That's who I think he is. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Vlog where I'm arguing about we need to film with Gia because Gia had just like, you know, driven across the country to be there. And although she was sick, right? What people don't see in the behind the scenes of that vlog was that like just a couple weeks prior, Caleb, well, we don't have any backlog and we need more guests and we need to have an episode pop off, like performance. People did not see any of that. But instead, like it was revealed to the audience that like, well, Noah's pushing really hard for Caleb to film with Gia, even though Gia's sick. And Noah is so stupid and he really needs to take better care of the talent. And it's like, that drove me crazy because it's like, cool, now to your audience, I'm an asshole when they don't see
Oh, muted.
is geared at, well, we don't have anybody. And it's like, what they don't see is,
Uh-oh.
so I wasn't a super huge fan of the vlog all the time. But around that time, I started looking at the comments on the vlog and I would go out, you know, sometimes the vlog would be about me going and looking and recruiting guests for the show. And in the comments, people would talk about the guests for the show and they would refer to them as victims. They'd go, oh, Noah can search for victims at this place. That was the comment that really was seared into my brain.
Uh-oh.
That's when I began to realize, oh, like even if I'm a nice guy, even if I'm a nice person that does care about and respect these people, I'm operating in a system where even people who are fans of this recognize that my role right now is to look for victims of this machine. That really fucked with me. In my opinion, there was also this implicit pressure that like you have to comply with Caleb's narrative, right? You have to comply with Caleb's narrative. In my opinion, so I couldn't jump into there and be like, hey, like, you know, it felt to me like I could not correct the public narrative about like, hey, like it's not okay to talk about these people like they're victims. If we're using the word victim when it comes to recruiting for the show, that's deeply fucked up, right? Like it felt like I wasn't allowed to say that. In my opinion, my role became to attract people to the show that were going to get the most views. We film an episode of the show. There's this person that comes into the studio, right? This is a young girl. She's less than 20 years old. I don't remember exactly how old she is, but she's like a real fan of the show. She's not from a casting website or anything. This is a real fan of this show that like really needs help. Her finances are kind of a mess, but like, you know, she's like kind of a kid, right? She lives with her parents. I remember she had this like cool car and stuff. She was like a character, right? She was fun, but she's a fan of the show, right? We come in, we do her episode. I remember you know, she was younger, right? So there wasn't like a big financial story there, but she fit the type of person that we assumed would get the most views, right? So the episode is like not great. I remember that, the episode not being great because there wasn't a whole lot of substance because like she only had like, you know, a year or two of financial history where she was like on her own. She had a bad car loan. She had, you know, she didn't have any money. I don't even think she had a job, right? But she fit the bill. So anyway, we go through this episode. This person's like 18, 19 years old. We get to the end and she recorded her episode and everything seemed fine. But after the camera stopped rolling, there was a thumbnail photo shoot session. That was normal. What wasn't normal was what I saw next. She was guided.
First of all, doing a photo shoot after the video is crazy. I could never. I always do it prior to streaming. I would be so out of spoons. I would just be so out of spoons.
Into poses that to me felt suggestive. More skin, more angles. It didn't make sense for a finance show. It didn't make sense for someone that...
Yeah, Caleb's show is Jerry Springer for finance. It's ultimately gross. I do think it's ultimately gross, for the record. Like, I need to make that clear. It is ultimately gross. It's not ethical. I would never have a show like this. I think it's really shitty. That's why I would never apply to work there. There are always YouTubers looking for editors. There are always people playing full-time editors. You could have been a full-time editor for somebody. Go be an editor for somebody. Why are you trying to be a producer? Why are you trying to do this? How much was he paying this man?
That young. And it definitely didn't make sense for someone who had just come in as a fan. I stood off to the side, chewing my nails, feeling sick to my stomach. She was barely out of high school. And I felt like the priority of the photo shoot had shifted from respecting this young woman to instead grabbing views. That was one of the moments where it kind of hit me. It didn't seem like this show was about helping people. It seemed like it might be about something else entirely.
Oh my God,
This wasn't
no
exactly
way.
a one-off
Wow.
situation either. Another time, a guest came in who was an exotic dancer. She was funny and charismatic, but after the episode, there was a clunky, awkward conversation about thumbnails. I don't remember who said what, but the whole vibe shifted. It felt like she understood what she was being asked, without anyone needing to say it directly.
Chad says, what level would he be? Girl. It's giving... Yeah, it's giving useless to himself and his community. It's giving one, but I don't know. I don't know. Because I don't know him, but it is giving one energy. Like, if I met this person, I'd be like, one, get away from me. Goodbye. It just feels like you're not going to help yourself. You're not going to help anybody around you. Let's be so fucking for real right now. Like, you are not actually going, like, it's giving, somebody said it earlier in chat, it's giving Boogie. Who said it in chat, girl? You're a genius. It's giving Boogie. I'm exhausted. Holy fuck. Caleb was right to fire him just based off this video. I would have fired you 7 minutes into this video, girl.
correctly. She pulled out her phone and started showing pornographic videos and explicit photos of herself to a member of the team right there in the studio. She didn't seem uncomfortable with it. In fact, it felt like she thought this was part of the process. Like this was just what you did on a show like this. At that time, I didn't really question that. I think I told myself that that was fine, but looking back now, it felt like the team was treating explicit OnlyFans content as potential thumbnail material for a financial advice show. And that felt like a deeply strange thing to me. A similar situation with another guest also left a lasting impression on me. Caleb had met her at a party and invited her to be on the show. She was an exotic dancer, and when she arrived to the studio, something...
He's just saying it's not professional and grown up. Yeah, you went on, it's giving, what's that guy's name that I just said Lady Gaga went on his show and I hate him, Howard Stern? It's giving Howard Stern. I hate it.
Felt off almost immediately. I'm no medical professional, so I won't speculate, but she seemed deeply out of it. She had trouble focusing. The shoot had to end early because it became clear that she couldn't make it through the episode. Before filming, she changed into an extremely revealing outfit, one that left very little to the imagination. And once the cameras rolled, she spent most of the time quietly playing with Play-Doh on camera, barely engaging with the financial conversation at all. At the time, it barely registered as weird to me. It was just another strange day in an already strange job. But looking back now, it's clear how far from normal things had gotten.
There became a very big focus on the thumbnails, right? A lot of people blame me for the thumbnail changes. As a general rule, those thumbnail conversations happened. It's like a huge company-wide thing, right? Anytime I was in those rooms, I would try to give the guests informed consent of like, hey, like, you know, we're going to take some creative liberties and stuff. Like, we're going to make fun of you in the thumbnail and title, but like, we want you to be in on the joke, right? That was like my thing. Anytime we were doing thumbnails and titles, I would try to be more funny than I was rude. I recognize now that like I was in an environment where like that strategy is like fundamentally not going to succeed. Then when people started to blame me for the more aggressive direction of the thumbnails and titles, and Caleb wasn't correcting them, I realized that I was being...
So he did work and he produced work. And when the audience got mad at the work he produced, he blamed Caleb. Because he felt like Caleb was forcing him to produce this work. Interesting. I mean, he is validation seeking, right? He was like seeking his dad's validation, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. If you're producing work you're not proud of, you should switch jobs. You should switch jobs. I understand sometimes you can't out of survival, but when you're ready, you should get a new job. Because, yeah, you're not happy with what you're producing, but you are the one producing it. You are still the one producing it. You're still the one who thought this was a dream job. You're still the one who moved across country. You're still the grown-up who claimed he wanted to run all these businesses and be a big boy. Well, welcome to the big boy lanes. Yeah, Caleb knows how to sensationalize things to bring in viewers. It's not my favorite business model. I don't like the business model. I think the business model is unethical. That's why I would never work for Caleb Hammer.
Scapegoated for the direction of the channel. Caleb is screaming more. These thumbnails and titles are egregious and horrible, right? When did this change happen? Well, the big pivot of the channel was when Noah was hired. So let's blame Noah, you know, through no fault of their own. Like they didn't know any better, right? And so that deeply didn't sit right with me. In my opinion, Caleb began to see my role for the company, not as like a builder, not as like someone who was helping him make millions and millions of dollars. My role in the company was Caleb.
Obviously, he's using the same clip, right? Every time he says, in my opinion, which is why he does that smile thing every time. It's because he's using the same clip, right? To say, in my opinion, for legal reasons, right?
It's garbage, man. That's ultimately what I realized my responsibility was. My opinion was that I was Caleb's social garbage man. So like, here's how a typical week would go, right? We would have 4 guests a week just about, or we would try to hit that, right? I would be ridden. My ass would be ridden until I alone casted 4 people a week. And if those people were not fitting Caleb's ideal guest archetype, I would be like, you know, reprimanded. And we would film 4 episodes a week. And what I found was that usually about 1 out of the 4 guests that we filmed with every week, they were so fucking pissed off because they came in thinking Dave Ramsey and they left,
no way,
realizing
bro.
that they just went on like the Jerry Springer show. I eventually implemented policies to try to protect myself where...
That's the fault. Okay, look, y'all gotta be responsible for the shows you sign up for to some extent. The show shouldn't exist in the first place, but you gotta be careful about what show you're going on. You're signing contracts, you're showing up, do your research before going on reality TV. It's not perfect, you're gonna fuck up eventually, but this is just preventative advice from somebody who does not do her research all the time and it always bites her in the ass. Do as much research as you can to feel relatively confident, okay? It's a hard lesson to learn. I hate it, but it's just like you gotta do it. And listen, I made that mistake a few years ago. Never again, bro. And if I do it again, I'm fucked. I actually gave certain friends permission to like tell me if they see me like a YouTuber. I'll be like, do you know this YouTuber? Do you know anything on them? Do you know anything the bad they did? Because bro, so I feel like if he had gone on a different finance show, there's so many finance shows that are less Jerry Springer, but he went for the one that was like offering a job at his friend's suggestion. I wish he had chosen to be like a YouTube editor or something, but I have a feeling he liked the idea of being like a producer. I have a feeling he felt like, oh, my dad believes in me now. I'm a producer of a show. You know what I mean?
Where it's like, hey, let's have the guests use fake names, right? That was my policy that I really, really strongly pushed for, because it's like there's no upside to them using their real names and like actually just like tanking their public reputation. Why are they doing that? Why has this not been implemented like fucking a year ago? In my opinion, the show is disgusting. Like why would we have these people actually share their real information with the world as they're like?
I mean, I like that point. I like that he had them change their names. That's really good. That's really smart. I think that's really great. Chet says, but financial content often seems to be kind of adjacent to Andrew Tate. That's why I recommend Chelsea Fagan from the Financial Diet, because Chelsea is progressive. It's like a woman company, but she's very progressive and inclusive with her language. She brings on a lot of really good guests. She's serious about finance. And I really recommend her show because she doesn't bring customers on the show. She just reads emails from them. And I think that's really nice. I don't always agree with Chelsea's perspective necessarily, but I agree mostly with Chelsea's perspective, which makes me comfortable. She has a little bit of a deviation because of the way we were raised, but it's fine. It's like she's progressive. She says the right things. She acknowledges minority struggle. She notices her struggle or her privilege. Like it's pretty balanced for a finance show. It's pretty damn good. And it has really good, solid advice. I actually really like her little graphs that she posts on her timeline. So I like those very much. You know, it's really helpful. Boy finance shows can be a lot. Like I remember I was watching a Dave Ramsey episode and his daughter was with him and he was like yelling at one of the callers and the daughter's like, can you please listen to them? Dude, listen to them. And like, you know, Dave is like the old guy who yells at people and his daughter's like, wait, we should listen and consider it. And she's like really soft spoken and really sweet and like, well, anyways, I am surprised he thought he was making a Dave Ramsey show on a show that obviously wasn't Dave Ramsey from day one. When did he join? That's where I'm a little confused now. Because if he implemented all of these things, when did he join Caleb? At one point, was he aware of Caleb's content? Because let's do this actually really fast. Because I'm a little confused at this timeline. Caleb Hammer. Okay. So 3 years ago, my first rental property is a disaster. 21 is making only $16 a month. Most popular. Okay, this one, more debt than anybody, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Oh, here's Boogie, the end of Boogie. Okay, so what? He's got member videos. Yeah, the thumbnails. Oh, these are all he's doing a lot of member content. You're gonna hate her, Financial Diet. Yeah, I think this is giving whatever podcast, you're gonna hate them. Fuck this pathological liar. Yeah, I don't like this energy. I hate it, actually. I literally loathe it. I loathe it. I don't even remember, the last time we watched Caleb. I guess it was a year ago when we watched Boogie. But yeah, I don't like this. Oops,
Sorry, invest
it's gonna be,
in...
So loud. Yeah, he's fucking evil. He's more disgusting than Boogie. Ugh. Anyways, when did this guy join? Yeah, I don't like this. This is trash.
Doing character assassination kamikaze attempts, right? Like that's fucking crazy. So in an attempt to cover my ass, you know, it's like, hey, let's use fake names. You know, I had Caleb do the onboarding
Yes, Mean Girl vibes. I'm over Mean Girls, guys. I'm exhausted. Please be kind to each other.
video, right? I wrote this.
Be firm and bold and blunt. But mean, you know, there's a meanness that I'm like, I'm over this.
Script for the onboarding video, but like in my opinion, it seemed to me like it's like double speak. What I was trying to do was have like a high degree of transparency, and instead,
oh my God,
that's it. Like, you know, that video
Muted
is
himself.
it is an attempt at transparency, but like I think that the ultimate goal of that video was that it gave more. It allowed.
Chet says, I think he said it was last year. Interesting, but he wasn't even there a full year. Ooh.
Oh, the audience believes that like everything is totally transparent and above board because we made this video. Anyway, once a week, a guest would leave our studio or their thing would be posted and this person would be so fucking pissed off. They were ready to either sue or come after us or fucking do some crazy shit, in my opinion. And so what I realized is like, I'm the garbage man, right? Like people, it was so funny to me. The frame was Caleb and are so introverted that they just can't handle any sort of like communication with the guest because they're very, very introverted. And so like I became the point of contact with all the guests. I had myself.
You know what this sounds like? Did you guys watch the documentary series on Jerry Springer? It's really good. He is playing that role. He's playing the role of the guy that deals with the guests and kick them out so Jerry doesn't have to deal with the guests. Caleb Hammer watched that documentary and said, genius, I'm going to use this. Keep in mind, the Jerry Springer producer eventually quit because of his mental health. That producer that helped make Jerry Springer famous eventually had to quit for his mental health. I swear Caleb watched that documentary and was like, genius. I'm taking notes. Because young people always think they're going to be different than their predecessors. I'm going to do it better. I'm not going to burn out. I'm not going to get corrupted by money. I'm not going to like mentally abuse people. I'm going to do it better.
Phone. I was deeply afraid. There was this one specific app that we would use for guest communication. I remember being so fucking afraid of that app on my phone. I would constantly live in fear. You know, I would get text messages on Sunday or like Saturday night at 11 o'clock from people who are so deeply furious, people who have mental health conditions, all sorts of different people. The guests of the show, you know, would reach out to me and they'd be like, hey, this fucked up thing happened as a result of me coming on the show. What the fuck? Just like constant PR nightmares. In my opinion, situations that Caleb himself, in my opinion, that then were put onto me to solve. That alone was so psychologically difficult to handle because the expectation was like no matter what time of day, if somebody decides to text you with a problem, you jump on it right then because they could be a potential PR nightmare if they fucking blow up, right? So if they blow up and they blow the fucking roof off of this fucking thing, my job ends, my reputation ends, right? I'm suddenly a part of this fucking machine, right? So if one of these fucking people nukes this, my ass is on the line, right? So it doesn't matter if it's 10 p.m. on a fucking Thursday. I have to defuse the bomb, right? And then I frantically text Caleb every single time one of these fucking bombs comes. And so the whole time, I'm begging. I'm like, Caleb, we have to treat these people with respect. We have to offer some level of baseline respect to these people, right? Because like I can't be in a system where I'm the garbage man. Where like because once a week one of these motherfuckers is furious, right? In my opinion, we're building a system that is, in my opinion, by definition unsustainable. If like one erratic person is added to the pile every single week and I'm supposed to deal with that, right? Eventually, like this is going to pop. Eventually, this bubble is going to pop. So we need to create a system where people don't get fucked by this machine. I would march into that office and I would beg those motherfuckers. I'd say, hey, we need values. What are our values? And the reason why I would beg for that is because I wanted stuff that showed transparency. I couldn't sleep with what we were doing, in my opinion, right? Like we were so fucked. What we were doing was so fucked, in my opinion. It was so fucked to me that I needed something to prove to myself that like what we were doing was on some way ethical, right? And so I'm like, hey, can we write some fucking values? Can we paste them to the wall? Can we put them in the fucking like waiting room? Like let's fucking write about our values. And in my opinion, these motherfuckers would make fun of me. They would make fun of me. You know, they'd be like, well, we have 3 values, you know, because at the beginning, I got them to write down some values, right? The values were that I would beg him to get fucking certified. I would beg Robert, Caleb's business partner. I'm like, hey, man, fucking convince Caleb to take some sort of financial education certification thing because like my job was so difficult because...
Pause. It's illegal to give financial advice as a professional. You have to give up your license. If you're like Dave Ramsey had to give up his license to do this. Like, I don't know what he means. Because you're an entertainer now. Guys, just in case you don't know this, legally, finance shows are entertainment shows. You are not giving financial advice, right? So I'm just making sure you guys know this. If you watch a finance show, you are watching entertainment. They cannot legally give financial advice. So... what is he saying?
was like, my job was to find someone who knew less about finance than Caleb Hammer, who was in a bad financial situation. In my opinion, you know, they would come on the show, Caleb would rip into them, right? And then it would kind of be on me to kind of clean up the blood, right? Make sure everybody was good enough, you know? Oh, that was for fun. That was for fun. You know, and by the way, like you signed all these documents. Uh-oh. That was all a joke, right? That was my job. If you want my opinion, this is my opinion. My role was there so that Caleb didn't have to feel the consequences of his own actions. Every day scared the shit out of me. These people would come to us and they would have mental health issues. They'd be like, hey, I'm really depressed. I have like multiple personalities, right? I have bipolar disorder. People would say that shit to me over the phone, right? Here's the other thing is that like I've wanted to be a YouTuber my entire life. I've done production my entire life.
You could have just become one. You could do it. You didn't have to work for a YouTuber. I've never worked for a YouTuber and I'm a YouTuber. You could just do it.
Love people. I love people, right? And I took my job extraordinarily seriously, right? Extraordinarily seriously. I would talk to these people for hours and hours and hours before they ever showed up to the studio. I would know every single thing about them because ultimately I genuinely wanted to help them change their behavior.
That's why you were wrong. You're not supposed to do that. This isn't a therapy session. You're not supposed to do that. Nah, I hate that. I think it's inappropriate for him. Is he talking to them on his own personal time and getting close to them? That's even worse. That's not good. He's trying to use language that says I'm community-based, the system, we have to get rid of the system. He's being like super inappropriately toxic and doesn't even know how he's playing a role in that toxicity because he's the good guy. I'm a good guy. I just want to help these people. I'm like a good guy, bro. I'm just trying to like, these people are bipolar. I'm just trying to help them, you know?
Behavior so that they could lead to better outcomes, right? I wanted to make the best show we possibly could, but I also wanted to help these people because
and he's a guy with no friends. I love people. People are the greatest. I have no friends. I have no partner. I have no job prospects. I can't hold down a job. My dad doesn't love me or give me his validation. Tessa, I think this is what you call a covert narcissist. Honestly, it's giving, you know what? I'm not a therapist. I'm not a medical professional. But if I was like, I've read books on narcissism, it's giving. Sorry. You know, but you know what? Good news is like you can get help for it. There are therapists who can help you, but you got to want to help yourself.
Cared about them. And so they would disclose to me that they have all of these mental health issues. And so I became paranoid about that too. And every single intake I did, I said, you know, hey, let us know if you have any mental health issues. And suddenly, like if you had any mental health issues, you were suddenly not welcome on the show because like I didn't want to be responsible for somebody taking their own life and then blaming me for that, right? I didn't want to be complicit in that. Eventually, Caleb put me in charge of the post show, right? So I would co-host the post show with him. And during the post show, it always drove me crazy because I would give Caleb these outlines where it's like, hey, like I talked to this person for a very long time, right? I took transcripts of our conversations and I would like analyze them to pull out details as well as the notes that I took during the conversations. And I would like create psychological profiles of them. I would create like
You know what I'm saying? Ladies, be careful who you go home with. You know what I'm saying? Gentlemen, be careful who you swipe. You know what I'm saying? What? He's just said that with his full chest like he was the good guy. He literally just said that with his full fucking chest like it was a good thing.
intricate bulleted lists about like, hey, these are the things that we should cover during the conversation. Here are things that you can like hold their feet to the fire for. But here are some angles that you can take during this conversation that can actually help them take a step back, understand their behavior, and try to actually change their lives. Caleb would sometimes not even read my outlines, right? Caleb would glimpse them. An example of this is the Mia episode, right? If you go back and you watch the Mia episode and the Mia post show, it's this woman, she's wearing a black blouse. The entire time this woman, look, Mia, I hope you're not mad at me, but the entire time during the entire conversation with Caleb, she fails to take accountability for anything. And she constantly is blaming all of the other people in her life. And my point during the conversation in the post show was supposed to be, hey, you notice this pattern of behavior where like you're blaming everybody else in your life? If you just took accountability for these things and you shifted your locus of control from external to internal, if you take accountability for all of these things, you can change your behavior. During that post show, as I'm trying to explain that concept to this woman, after a show where Caleb has completely ignored all of my notes, in my opinion, about how this woman owns thousands and thousands of dollars in Funko Pops and a wardrobe that is like huge, right? Where like if she sold this shit, she could pay off a lot of her debt. During that post show, Caleb does a bit where he, instead of talking about how like she could change her mindset, he's doing a bit where he's eating crayons, right? Now, in my opinion, one, he didn't want me to upstage him because he knew how much I cared about that fucking person compared to him. Like, I really think he knew that like I knew so much about her that like, or maybe not. He probably did. I don't know.
This is a tough watch. Whose son is this? You just know his father is deeply confused about how this is his offspring. Now the question is it the way he was raised? Is it something he won't get help with? How do you get a person like this help? How do you get a man like this to help themselves? Explain that to me. You know what I mean?
I don't know. He's also like, he's genuinely such an interesting person because like you don't know how much of what he's doing is like a chess move and how much of what he's doing is him being. During that post show, he's like eating crayons as I'm like trying to help this woman and I'm trying to explain. And you can just see me get so visibly upset, right? It's like, okay, like I've spent, 6 hours or more preparing this conversation, learning every single fucking thing I can about this lady, building this outline for you to change your fucking life, and you didn't even read it. And so now we've got a 20-minute post show where I can make it so that the 6 hours of work that I did trying to prep this episode isn't completely lost. And instead of that, Caleb decided to do a bit where he was just going to film himself eating crayons. Like, she's going to go home to whatever chaotic nightmare life that she has, in my opinion. Cool, whatever. I worked there for months and months and months. I'm eventually promoted to casting director, which is really nice. The Brent Davey episode. We get to a point where there is very little backlog. There was so much going on that I was so stressed out that like we didn't have a backlog of episodes, and so we needed content, right? And we're all in crunch mode, right? In my opinion, people would back out. As Caleb got more and more aggressive, people would back out more and more frequently, right? In my opinion, people would like watch the show before they came on and they'd be like, hey, I don't think I want to do this. So like I'd be fucked, right?
Oh, good. I'm glad people are actually watching the show before they go on.
In my opinion.
Apparently, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, there is a lot of people like from the Love on the Spectrum people, from my understanding, like people just like cold apply to shows to be on TV. And then they go, hey, I'm looking for this thing. Do you want to cast? But they don't know what they're signing up for. And I just think all of those people are a specific kind of person. As much as I love the shows and I love Love is Blind and everything, it just takes like a very specific person to be that person. And look, I shouldn't talk, I'm a YouTuber, right? But like it's specific. Like I've never been in that bubble, so I don't know. But it feels like this is what Caleb is trying to do. Like your talent, come in, get out, come in, get out, come in, get out. It sounds horrible. It sounds like a headache.
And so like, I'm like freaking out, right? Being like, cool, okay, I need a Hail Mary. I need a Hail Mary. I need a Hail Mary. And eventually I settle on this idea. I'm like, we need Brent Davey back on the show. And so I remember thinking like, okay, Brent Davey is my Moby Dick and I'm Captain Ahab, right? How can I get this motherfucker back on the show? So I bust ass, right? I call, it was tough to get Brent's phone number, but I finally find the right phone number. I call him. Brent doesn't want to talk to me, wants nothing to do with me, right? I eventually negotiate a situation where I'm like, Brent, like you hate Caleb more than anything in the world, right? What if we got you to box Caleb on camera for a lump sum of money? Would you be open to this idea? I work on this problem for like a month, right? I go back and forth with Brent for like a month. I try to coordinate a boxing gym. I go to multiple different boxing gyms. I coordinate with Caleb's lawyers to try to get some sort of contract written where like we can get them to box. It all falls through, but eventually I get Brent to come back on the show, right? I get Brent to agree to come back on the show. He says, I want this much money, cash in a
I caught the troll, bros. I caught that. Ugh.
bag. I say, okay, we're going to figure that out. Here is the deal.
Brent was in a pretty rough situation. He had virtually no money. I believe at this time he was sleeping in his car, and from what I remember, his family relationships seemed strained. I saw this as an opportunity to tell a redemption story. Yes, I expected some tongue-in-cheek rivalry for the show, but my ultimate intention was to actually help Brent. I viewed getting him back on the show as a redemption arc. But once the cameras started rolling, things shifted. Caleb revealed 2 custom t-shirts that featured mocking quotes from Brent's original episode. The tone wasn't exactly financial. There weren't very many documents to really talk about, and the discussion veered away from anything too helpful. What was framed as a
What's this guy's name, guys? Brent?
financial audit didn't really feel like one. It felt more like a spectacle that I had not signed up for.
We get to a point in that recording where Brent is staring at the table. He's completely incommunicado, right? He's
Oh. Wait.
I'm Brent Davey. I'm 41. I'm based out of Austin, and this is Financial Audit.
So what do you do, 41-year-old Austin, Texas, for a living?
Too many things.
Okay, go on.
That I don't even know, really. I'm just like hustling every day, basically, because I have been blacklisted for most jobs.
Whoa.
I have a criminal background.
What did you do?
I told Governor Abbott on Twitter that I would eat his heart, and that like solicited a big reaction.
So what happened?
I was arrested. I was arrested by 6 DPS agents. They knocked on my door, and I spent 4 days in jail on a terror hold in Travis County. And then that was a misdemeanor B, terroristic threat.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds way worse than it is because I'm not a cannibal, for one. I don't eat hearts. Like, that's a metaphor.
Good to know.
And the state really wanted.
Yeah, like Caleb didn't do a background check to make sure who he was bringing on the show 2 years ago. Like, this could have been a serious situation in a sense. Like, you know, okay, 41 years old, doesn't have a job.
You're coming
Then they bring him back.
Yeah. The reason we're using a temporary studio here and the reason you got a pat down and stuff like that is because we've received almost 40 emails and we've received many death threats from you over the course of the night. I was angry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you guys hear that?
40 emails and we've received many death threats from you over the course of the night. I was angry at you. Are you terrified? You're very frightened. You're a little okay. You're afraid of me. You said one of the only conditions to film with me again was to literally hit me. Oh yeah, I wanted to slap you in the face. Yes. Put that in the thumbnail.
Yeah, like Caleb is a bad person to have. Caleb is so money driven, clout driven that he's willing to threaten his staff and himself to bring on this person. This is so unethical. This is like beyond unethical to me. This is not good. Maybe Caleb is like a good, like bad person meter. Like everyone who's involved with the show is a bad person. What? That's so horrible. So this is the guy, right, that he brought on. But is this the boxing episode? I guess we'll see what happens. Ew.
He's completely done speaking. He literally tells Caleb, he goes, write down whatever it is you want me to say on a piece of paper and I will say it to you verbatim so that I can be done with this. Okay? He's done.
And then I heard something that made my stomach drop. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like, if you don't finish this conversation and talk to me for another 30 minutes, you're not going to get paid. That moment stuck with me. Whatever the intent was, the impact was clear. Someone in a vulnerable state was being cornered, on camera. I remember the energy just draining from the room. It didn't feel like a show to me anymore. It felt like something else.
But anyway, I watched this happen and it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. Caleb plays hardball with Brent and it barely works and Brent continues to not speak. And that's when I step in, right? Because Brent and I, at this point, Brent and I have a relationship, right? And I talk to Brent and I go, Brent, like, you know, for a moment, screw Caleb, right? Like, don't think about Caleb for a moment. What is your plan for your life? Just tell us about that, right? And then Brent opens up about this story about like music and stuff and how he wants to be a composer and how he wants
Soft goals versus hard goals. Brent is all about soft goals. Nothing's ever going to happen. You're 41, you haven't figured it out, and you got an attitude.
He essentially wants to do piano and he's making original art and stuff and his music was beautiful and that was great. But as I got Brent to keep talking, Caleb looks at me and he goes, Noah, stop talking, right? Like, Noah, stop. The way he commanded me to stop talking once Brent was continuing to film the show. And I was so used to that at that point that it worked and I shut the fuck up.
Brent finished the conversation after that. Afterward, I had a conversation with someone on the team where I floated the idea, hey, what if Brent had been recording that conversation? The look that I got back from that teammate said it all. That's when it hit me. The unease that I felt, it didn't just seem to be mine. It was shared. It was real. I wanted to tell a story about redemption. What happened instead was something I couldn't justify. Suddenly, I felt like I was complicit for staying.
Every muscle in my body is like, go do something else. Don't continue to relive these moments. But like, but I'm like halfway through this and I've never made it this far into recording this video. I've made it like 45 minutes into recording this video, but I've never made it this far. So I'm just going to fucking do this and it's not going to be perfect. And I probably sound manic or crazy or whatever the fuck, but I'm just going to keep going. And eventually someday when I achieve some level of closure, I will be able to talk about this hopefully in a way that's like not so deeply world fucking riveting. People aren't going to understand that. They don't understand like the level of fear and fight or flight that I experience on a day-to-day as a result of this situation.
Somebody give me a cigarette. Somebody give me a cigarette. What?
They don't get it. Cool, this shit with Brink goes down. George Camel is coming into town. George Camel's coming into town to collaborate with Caleb Hammer. Oh my God, sound the alarm. George Camel, the TikTok Gen Z peeling side of Dave Ramsey, is coming to Hammer Studios, Hammer Media. What the fuck is the fucking building called? I don't fucking remember. So, George Camel is coming to film something with Caleb Hammer.
Okay, I know who George is.
Caleb Hammer says, oh my God, I have an idea. The last time that we by co-auditing him with Graham Stephan, that was kind of fun. Let's do the same thing. No, you ready for a co-audit? This time, you know, again, I'm offered, you know, it's like, hey, I can consent or I don't have to consent.
You
But
love Dave Ramsey. This is your opportunity to get in.
I'm thinking to myself, like, you know, I really heavily consider it, right? I heavily consider it this time because now I'm disillusioned. I have watched Caleb Hammer take these people apart every single fucking day of my life for the past like 8 months. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, fuck me. Like, am I going to subject myself to this again? Right? My finances were in a much, much better position. But at the same time, like the emotional fallout that happened to me from coming on that show the first time was so fucking crazy. It was just so difficult to explain to anybody. The way that you feel naked in front of everyone is so strange. I'm thinking to myself, okay, like I'm supposed to do this again. Everybody in the audience was like, oh, I can't wait for Noah's follow-up. After a very, very long time where I'm like, no, I don't think this is a good idea. I eventually sit on it and I chew on it enough where I'm like, okay, fuck it. Let's go. Like I've seen this guy take people apart. I am this guy's fucking special sauce, right? Like I know this motherfucker and how he argues better than he does, right? So like, let's go. Let's be the wall, right? Like I know, I've seen behind the curtain. So I roll up to audit number 2. You know, again, I barely slept the night before. I've been preparing for weeks, right? I've been preparing the week beforehand, like running like scenarios where I'm like, okay, he's probably going to do this. And then I should probably go like this because I don't want to be humiliated again, right? The first time I went in, you know, very like green-eyed, right? Green-eyed, bushy-tailed, you know, and I remember the comments being like, oh, this guy's fucking nervous and talking too
What's this guy's name that we're watching? Noah.
much and whatever. And so the second time I go in like this. Hi, welcome to the show. Yep, these are my finances. Go ahead and dig through them. Yep. Whatever, we do the audit. I'm embarrassed to do the audit because like, you know, during that month, I was spending so much money. I was not going into debt. I was not using debt at that time, right? But I was spending so much money.
Wait.
My name's Noah. I'm 27.
Wait, it's called You Won't Be Surprised I Fired Him. 1 year ago, January 2024. This happened 2 weeks ago. If you're reading this, thank you for caring. Thank you for being here. If you care, thank you for caring. You don't have to care, but if you do, I appreciate you. Your attention is extremely valuable and you have no obligation to share with me. But if you choose to do so, just know I'm extremely grateful, sir. He has ADHD. Theoretically, the Patreon is home to more BTS content, but I have ADHD and consistently can be hard as hell. So like, I don't know, give me time to really nail this one. My editors need to eat. This helps me eat. Who's your editor? Who can you pay? What is this? Are you fucking with me right now?
I'm based out of Austin, Texas, and I'm an alcoholic. I mean, I'm on financial audit. This is financial audit. It was going to be a bit. I was going to do a bit. I'm going to try it again. Here we go. No bit
No,
this
you're
time.
not. You absolute.
So this is Caleb
We
Hammer.
are keeping it.
No, come on!
No, sorry. This is Caleb Hammer with what's his name? Wow, I'm blanking on names right now. My spoons are draining. Graham Stephan, yeah. Hey everyone, just want to clear this up. When Noah mentioned his $50,000 salary and I said, get him, Graham, my response was in support of the $50,000. It's a solid opportunity. Noah has a job that people would willingly love to do for free. Caleb has a great team and great trajectory. And if he were to post an application, he'd have hundreds willing to do this work for free just to be around them. I know this because I get offers on a daily basis. I also understand that Noah was half joking about get him Graham in response to $50,000 base salary, but in no way did I ever advocate for free labor or that Caleb shouldn't pay his employees. People deserve to get paid for their work. My comment was simply meant to be cheeky and a friendly banter. This is from Graham. So a base salary of $50,000, and then there's like he can get like I guess opportunities to make more money. $50,000. I don't think that's enough money. 4 days a week? Is he working 5 days a week? Is he salary based? So he's letting people. The problem with salary based is that you might allow people to take advantage of you because salary based employees tend to be overworked unless the salary is really good and the bonuses are really good. So there's something about that. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to this Noah video now.
Trying to cope mentally with the I was just blowing money.
I mean, I guess Noah could have gotten roommates, definitely. If you're making $50K before tax, you gotta have roommates. That's really not enough in Austin. Austin's also the gayest friendly place in Texas, and it's like one of the most expensive. So $50,000, Caleb has to know on $50K, he has to assume you have roommates, right?
I was making an incredible amount of money, and then I was blowing just as much trying to live with myself.
Oh.
And so that was kind of like why I was ashamed to do the follow-up.
So he felt like he was making enough money. Maybe it is enough. I don't know.
Towards the beginning, I explained the emotional fallout from doing the show the first time, right? I explained how difficult it was for me. I explained like what it was like to read the comments, and I
I
explained.
guess it's the average individual income is 40 to 52,000 in Austin. Household income is 91,000. So it's like if two people are working, most likely. A good salary. So like median salaried income, 65,000, with 80% of salaries falling between 31,000 and 150,000. Interesting.
How much respect I have for each of the people that do decide to come on Financial Audit, because it's fucking grueling. The entire audit was very passive aggressive. Now, conveniently, all of that footage was removed, right? The parts where I talk about the emotional fallout from me going on the show the first time, as well as like all this other shit about. Eventually, days after, I was sent the rough cut of my conversation with George and Caleb, and all of those parts of the conversation were removed. The part where I talk about the emotional fallout was removed. The whole conversation was very strange, right? We do a stream afterwards too. And during the stream, there's a comment on the stream that's like, wow, it's so weird to see George around these people who are using such profanity, right? He would call the stream the Goon Squad, right? Anyway, whatever. We finished the fucking filming. I get a couple days later, the rough cut, which is supposed to just be the raw footage, in my opinion. But they had removing sections of this conversation, without any notice, right? In my opinion, like they removed all the parts where I was like, hey, going on the show the first time fucking drove me crazy. They
He said paraphrasing for comedic value.
just snip that away. Like we don't need that. That'd be terrible. And then we do the live stream, right? On the live stream, George reads a comment about how it's weird that like he's around so much profanity, right? And then Caleb uses that as an opportunity to drop the C word. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, what a horribly unprofessional thing to do to another person in this space. To drop the C word after they're clearly uncomfortable about the language that's being used on the program, right? To just blatantly do that on a live stream.
No offense to George. He's a grown up. I think he can handle the C word. Okay, relax. Like, I respect people. I respect adults' boundaries when it comes to cursing when I'm in their house. Not when they're in mine. Like, you're on my show. We use cuss words. It's funny. You're an adult. You can handle it. What is he, 5? Okay. Yeah, C word. You get demonetized if you say it on YouTube. So I try not to say it. But yeah, like, relax. You know what I mean? I feel like there's something about like coddling adults. So like, oh, don't say the F word. Oh. And I'm like, grow up, bro. Like, I get it. Some people are really upset about curse words or cussing or whatever. Cool. You don't want to swear? Got it. But like, relax. Okay, relax with like, oh, it's a consent violation. You said the F word around him. Relax. Okay. He's trying to be funny. He's trying to be saucy because he knows. But George is religious. Why is he even going on Caleb Hammer? You know what I mean? If you're so Christian, you can't handle cussing, don't go on Caleb Hammer. I don't even know why are you even validating Caleb's work? Why is Dave Ramsey or any of those people even validating Caleb's work? As good Christian people, you shouldn't even be collabing with Caleb Hammer, let alone advocating for Donald Trump to be president. So I don't really give a fuck about these people being sensitive. They voted for a rapist. Go fuck yourselves.
With thousands of people watching. Cool, whatever. There was also a guy that I deeply look up to named Chris Do. And Chris Do is this person that had helped me previously in my career. His ideas had helped me make money as I was struggling to build my own marketing agency. I watched his videos religiously.
The marketing agency that failed?
And I had implemented a lot of his advice, and I deeply, deeply looked up to this guy. I met him at a YouTube
He's in the boy bubble so hard.
creator event. So anyway, I talked to Chris Do. I'm like, Chris, like, I took your advice earlier in my career, and it caused me to, fundamentally change my life. I quit my job as a result of your advice, and I built a marketing agency. Chris, what
Well, you built a failed marketing agency.
if you told me the wrong advice, man? Like, does that ever fuck with you? Thinking to myself, like, I'm racked with guilt all the time. Chris Do essentially gives me the advice from Spider-Man. He goes, like, with great power comes great responsibility.
A personal brand is the impression that people have about you, that gut feeling about who you are, your values, your belief systems. And you need to consistently show up as that person. So you're going to share what you know, and you're going to build this upon the experience and the things that you've actually accomplished, not the things you just read about. And there's a general rule here, which is you do personal development in private when no one's watching. And when you discover things, you teach that in public.
Like, we have a responsibility as content creators to do right by our audience, right? To search until we have the correct answers. And so I remember that evening after the George Camel shoot and everything, I remember staying up very, very, very late, and I wrote like an equation. Because, like, I was at that point so much that I didn't know what was reality and what was not. I remember picking 4 criteria, right? The first criteria was long-term monetary health. The second criteria was short-term monetary health. The third criteria was long-term reputation. And the fourth criteria was morally correct. Those were the 4 criteria in which I evaluated my decision on. There was a decision matrix I needed to make as well, right? I could either quit and just walk the fuck out the door. I could try to implement change, or I could do like a combination of multiple, right? Or I could do nothing. I remember sitting down and literally numerically like assigning weights and doing a weighted average of like how to conduct myself and make this decision. Morally correct was like 60% of the weight. I knew there was going to be a negative short-term monetary impact to me if I quit my job, right? I assigned each one a score out of 10. So that was like a 2 out of.
This is so ADHD of him. Habibi, stop making lists and do your goddamn job. Habibi, all the time you spent in this, just do your job. Quit your job. Get a new job. Go to college. You can't though. It's so ADHD of him to work this fucking hard on just, bro, I get it, bro. You know how many notebooks my partner buys me that I go through because I'm just writing down ideas? I'm a paper waster. My partner buys me notebooks because I just write random scribbles and notes, and I'm like, today's the day. This is the new schedule we're implementing that's going to be perfect. Oh, and by the way, got ruined this morning at 8 a.m. when Indiana decided to hack a hairball, and she woke us both up because we were afraid she was dying, but she was just hacking up a hairball. And then I was up at 8 a.m. and then I didn't go back to bed, even though I'm supposed to wake up at 11 or 10 because I'm up late for nights. And so I've been up since 8 a.m. and it is 11 p.m. because I couldn't go back to bed. Stop making lists. Just do the thing. Trust me. One of the most bonding things my partner and I ever did was go over our list notebooks together. And I looked at his list notebook. I was like, ah, yes, the ideal work schedule, living schedule that ends up stopping halfway through because you're not actually going to do it. I love it. Every second's detailed for both of us. 8 a.m., this, 8:15, this, 9. It never works that way. It's never going to work that way, girl. You need to be what's this called? An A-type personality for that to be your life. And that ain't us, girl. It's not us. Never gonna be us. Not us. Stop making lists. Just do it.
Out of 10, right? Like, I did have some savings though. I had about 3 months of savings. So like, I knew that like, even if I did decide to leave, like the short-term monetary impact wouldn't be completely debilitating. Then I thought long-term monetary impact, right? It's like, okay, well, probably if I left, like my long-term earning potential probably wouldn't be negatively hindered all too much. That was like a 5 out of 10. Then it was long-term reputation, like, staying presented, like, and then morally correct. I ran these multiple scenarios, and what I ultimately came away with was I needed to leave. Leaving was probably the best option. But then I realized there was no marginal cost of trying to affect change on my way out the door, right? That's what I perceived at the time. I could tell.
Okay, true. Chess says it feels too good not to write the list. Listen to me. I do love writing a list. I do love it. But also, let's write the list, but actually do something. Look, just write down every day what has to get done and what you want to do. Hard goals for the day, soft goals for the day. And hard goals, you better do. And soft goals, don't pretend they're hard goals. Hard goals for the day, soft goals for the day. Hard goals today, finish this live stream. That is over 7 hours long and going to be over 7 hours long by the time we're done. Okay? Finish this goddamn live stream. Go to the grocery store. I wanted to make myself a vegan dish I saw on TikTok, so I went to the grocery store today. Those are my 2 hard goals for today. 2 soft goals for today. Post a clip. I highly doubt I'm going to get to that. I'll be so fucking for real. Okay. Oh, I guess 3rd hard goal, make dinner. Get my dinner eaten. Okay. I guess there is no other soft goal today. No, that's it. My only soft goal today would be to post a clip, which I guarantee you is not happening today. But it's okay. I can do it tomorrow morning. No big deal. It's my day off, but I can wake up in the morning and post a clip. No biggie. Okay. I got 2 friend calls tomorrow, catching up with peeps, see how they've been doing. But I already did all my hard goals. I'm basically done for today. I'm really proud of myself. Okay. And then tomorrow we'll just, we'll do what we can. Okay. You just don't overwhelm yourself and don't overpromise to yourself.
administration, hey, you know, these changes need to be made and just see what happens. So I do that. The next morning, I go to Robert, Caleb's business partner. People are like, well, why didn't you just talk to Caleb about these things? And it's like, well, I did talk to Caleb about these things for months and months and months and months and months and months and months. And so it just became this like dead end, right? And so instead I just talked to Robert. So I talked to Robert in the morning. I'm like, hey, Robert, like, I'm not going to have this conversation with you because it's being recorded by Caleb on the security camera. And I want to make sure that we can have a privileged moment between you and me. So instead we go for a walk around the facility and I explain to Robert, I go, Robert, can you explain to me why you think some of the things that we're doing here are okay? And he goes, yeah, well, you know, these three things are true about our operation and true about Caleb, meaning that all of the stuff that we're doing here is justified. I go, okay, cool. I listen to him for about 45 minutes, explain these three things, right? Then I give him instances where each one of those three things was blatantly violated by Caleb. You know, you're saying that it's okay that we did this because he didn't do this, but that's actually not true because I can point to the situation here. We had this conversation around the building. I then tell Robert, I go, Robert, have you seen the fucking raw shoot footage from Brent Davey? Because like I had Robert go and look for the source footage, right? Because that was obviously removed from the edit. So I go and I get the raw footage from Brandon, or I encourage Robert to go get that from Brandon, and Robert watches that footage. Robert then goes and he talks to Caleb for some time. And it's a normal day of work, right? So we all sit back down. Now, at this point, the editing team had finished editing the episode with Brent Davey. And so it's a Friday, I think. And so like over lunch, before the guest for that day is coming in, over lunch, we all sit down and we watch the Brent Davey edit. The Brent Davey video opens with, you know, this like joking caricature opening about how it's like a Smash Bros intro. It's framed as like a friendly rivalry. Throughout this conversation, you know, as Caleb systematically humiliates Brent over and over and over again with each t-shirt and whatever, I just look around the room and every single person in this room is smiling and laughing. And I realize like truly like the level of dehumanization that is going on, right? It's like this man that we're laughing at right now, and we're all sitting around as Caleb is literally making fun of him for online views and money. And I'm furious. I'm sitting there staring daggers across from myself into another production person. And Robert stops the filming. He realizes, Noah's like having a fucking mental break because I'm right. Like I watched something fucking horrible go down and I'm fucking tweaking. And so Robert stops the viewing party, right? We go and we film with the guest. And then that afternoon, I'm called into Robert's office. The last conversation that I had in person with Caleb Hammer was when we recorded that last post show. I don't even fucking remember what happened during that conversation. I was disassociating the entire time. I sit down, I'm pulled into Robert's office, and Robert fires me, which I knew was coming. I am so...
Oh, shit. First of all, thank you guys for your nice comments in the chat. I've been snacking on pretzels. You are correct. I will have a scrumptious, delicious something I'm trying to say, dinner after this. Don't worry about me. But wait, what? But it could have just come out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? But like also you were complaining and you weren't complying and you weren't doing your job. They probably knew he wasn't the right fit pretty early on, I feel.
So anxious right now. I'm experiencing so many different emotions, like mentally reliving all of these things that like it's difficult for me to articulate, I think, some of the nuances of this, but like
Hold on, I want to rewind that a little bit.
Associating the entire time. I sit down, I'm pulled into Robert's office, and Robert fires me, which I knew was coming. I am so anxious right now. I'm experiencing so many different emotions, like mentally reliving all of these things that like it's difficult for me to articulate, I think, some of the nuances of this, but like you don't understand how much that fucking hurt me. You don't get it, right? Because even though Caleb is, in my opinion, even though he put me through all of this shit, right? Like Caleb Hammer was one of my best friends. People don't understand that.
What is up with these people? You guys can't be best friends with somebody if they, like, it has to kind of be reciprocal. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can have an unconditional love for somebody, but it also has to be like kind of reciprocal. You know what I mean? Like if somebody's, you know what I'm saying? Like you can call them your bestie in a sense, or like hold some dearness to your own heart. But like you also like, listen, okay, it's not that deep. Like sometimes your besties don't talk to you anymore. It's life. Get over it. Like it hurts more when you're a kid, but like as an adult, you have to accept that people will go their own way. Okay. Do you know what I mean? Like first it has to be reciprocal. And then if your bestie's like, hey, I don't want to be besties with you anymore. Okay. That's sad. I'll cry about it. But like, good luck. I wish you the best. Love you. Like go to therapy. But like, there's no way Caleb fucking Hammer is your best friend. And there's no way he sees you as his best friend. I refuse to believe this is true. I refuse to believe after less than a year of working with somebody that this is your best friend. When he started off the video saying he has no friends. This is the loneliness epidemic. Okay? This is the loneliness epidemic.
Even Caleb like to diminish our relationship to like, oh, well, you know, he just works here. But
it's giving stalker. It's giving in inappropriate parasocial relationship. It's giving consent violator. Ethan did this. Destiny did this. This guy does it. Why do they pretend you're closer to these people than you are? You're not close. We don't know you. Get over it. All these people are like, we were so close. They were friends. Relax.
But like we were essentially like comedy duo partners, like on his post show. We had a very, very like, it was strange for sure, but like I don't think Caleb was very close to very many people, and I'm not super close to very many people either. We were buddies, right? We were fucking good buddies.
Doubt it. Baby reindeer. Baby reindeer in the chat. Martha from Baby Reindeer type. Baby reindeer. Caleb. It's my baby reindeer. Bro, chill.
And I talk about too, like the fawning thing. Like I used to joke on the show all the time that Caleb was my dad. That was a joke that I would tell all the time. You know, even jokingly referring to
Girl, I can have such a good time with a stranger. I would convince them that the God sent me down from heaven to be their best friend. It's called chemistry. It's called fun. You are not this man's best friend.
Somebody as your father.
Oops, my bad.
There was a closeness between us that was implicit to me and very important to me.
Whoa, bro froze.
And then to be fired, to be fired by to not even be fired by that person, right? To have him have his buddy do the dirty work, right? Of firing me.
Bro, the aftermath.
So anyway, I get home. And as I'm being fired, Robert, he proposes this idea to me that they'll pay me if I sign their severance agreement. It's an NDA that...
Tell me how much.
And so, the deal is put on the table of sign this deal, get paid and get the fuck out. I tell Robert during the interaction that I need at least 2 weeks in order to evaluate that decision, but I knew deep in my fucking soul that I was never going to fucking sign a piece of paper like that. That evening, as this negotiation is on the table, Caleb Hammer texts me the security camera footage of me being fired, right? Of Robert firing me. The next morning, he sent me an email about, oopsie, I had confided in him, right? Multiple times on his show that I had trauma around being fired. That night, after I received that text message from Caleb Hammer, I immediately freaked the fuck out. I was terrified, right? I was terrified. Caleb Hammer knew where I lived. I lived less than a mile from his studio.
Wow. I'm not a therapist, but the way he is literally the one who's inappropriate, the one who's giving soccer vibes, the one who's literally, and then he's turning it around like Caleb is the threat to my life. Sir, you're the one who is unhinged. You're the one who is scary in the story. You are literally scary. Whoa. All of this could have stopped if he healed his daddy issues. He can't. He won't go to therapy. He'll talk to his friend who's a therapist for an hour, but he won't go to therapy. Whoa. This is unsafe, bro. I'm telling you, school shooter vibes. I'm sorry. That's what it is. Somebody get this man a checkup.
Less than a quarter mile from his studio. I would skateboard to his fucking studio. I went and I bought mace, I bought a baseball bat, and I bought a fucking doorstop because I had no idea what was going to happen, right? My sense of safety was gone. My sense of safety was fucking obliterated in that moment. I get the email the next morning, which is plausible deniability in my opinion. Caleb says, oh, whoopsie, I accidentally sent you the footage of your own firing, right? My mother immediately flies down to Austin, Texas, right? She drops everything. I was so mentally fucked up.
Ooh, these Machiavellian mothers coddling their sons between their tits instead of getting them the therapy they need. We're looking at a Machiavellian mother in motion. Please, somebody, do something. Call somebody. Girl.
That I was genuinely terrified, right? I go to a lawyer and I essentially decide this. I decide I'm not signing anything. And I essentially propose this to them. I propose a mutual peace treaty because if Caleb told a story definitively about my departure from that company, I knew I was going to spend so much time rewriting the public narrative that I couldn't have that, right? So I'm look, if you talk about this at all, then I will talk about this too. I will agree to not talk about this.
$10 says the mom coddles him and the dad is disappointed in him. And there's no balance. There's no accountability. There's no real therapy. I'm telling you, he's not from Texas. He moved to Texas. I think he said he was from New York, right? He moved to Texas, but his mom dropped everything and flew out to comfort him. He's 27 years. He's 28. I get your mom coming out to support you, but why do you have trauma over getting fired because you're a bad employee? Go to therapy. ADHD is crippling. Go to therapy. Get help. Learn that you have a disability.
Situation if you agree to not mention me. And they go for that, which is great. That buys me
By the way, ADHD doesn't actually make you a bad person, though. It can make you an unreliable person. Like maybe you have a hard time meeting deadlines or holding down a job or being there for friends, but it doesn't actually make you like a bad person or a violent person necessarily. Like there, you know, it could make you make bad decisions or impulse control, but your values. So this man who's all like values, 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 where are your values? Where are they?
Me time. That said, it also makes me walk on eggshells for the next like 6 months of my life, right?
Why? Why? What part of your psychology says I need to be threatened by Caleb Hammer? Why would Caleb, I mean, his name is Hammer, but why would Caleb Hammer be a threat to your life? How does that even make sense? And tell me by the end of this video, this man does not say he went to therapy.
If you don't talk about me, I won't talk about you. That's the armistice that we have for multiple months. My mom flies down. I'm fucking terrified. We take all my shit. We sell most of it, right? I literally lose thousands of dollars in value of my shit just because like I'm like, get me the fuck home, right? I sell all my shit.
Oh, to your mommy and daddy's house? Because you can't hold down a job? Because you're insufferable and no one can work with you?
Because I'm fucking terrified. People don't understand that like I genuinely feared for my safety. And you can make fun of me of that. Like I don't care. But like I genuinely to my core was like, this man is powerful. So get me the fuck home. And then
oh, yes, Caleb Hammer with his his 2 million subscribers. Me. What?
Less than a week, I sell all my shit and we drive from Austin, Texas back to New York. The drive is about 22.
To be fair, Caleb Hammer's viewers are vicious. I wonder if he means to say I'm afraid of Caleb Hammer in his audience, the same way the debate bros are kind of scary. Is that what he means? Is he saying he's not afraid of Caleb hurting him, he's afraid of the viewers hurting him? Because that would make more sense. But why are you afraid of Caleb hurting you?
2 hours or something, you know, if you have no traffic, and we had traffic. I did this in 2 days, right? I was so scared that we shoved all of my shit in my car after selling what we could, and we fucking haul ass back to Syracuse in 2 days. I drove, of the 22 hours, I think I drove like 18 of them or 17 of them by myself, and my mom did like a little bit of the relief. And suddenly I'm back home.
Ugh.
I'm having trouble with this because this is awful to talk about. Like, I bet nobody's going to fucking even watch this late into the video. If you watch this late into the video, post a comment. At this point, I'm back in New York, right? I'm back in New York.
Oh, New York.
Like, my mind is racing, right? I'm like, okay, you know, how do I come out on top from all this, right? That's like what my mind is doing, right? Well, I built a company, not realizing at the time, like, how deeply psychologically fucked up I am from all of this, right? I don't realize that I'm like I think I'm like hard, right? I think I'm like, oh, fuck it. I don't realize that I think I'm like Iron Man 1, right? And I realize upon reflection, I'm actually Iron Man 3 when he starts to have like PTSD fucking like flashbacks and shit, and he has like a panic attack, and Jarvis is like, dude, I think it's just you freaking the fuck out, right?
How did he get out of the wormhole?
I thought I was in Iron Man 1. I'm trying to talk to my old friends. I'm trying to reconnect with my old friends. I go social
Oh, so you do have friends. Which friends?
media dark. I'm just trying to be a person again. My first goal is to get out of my parents' house, and I'm like, okay, we have this building. It's like a small cottage. We have this in our family, but like it was kind of falling apart. There was some shit that needed to be done, some work that needed to be done on it. And I'm like, okay, let's crawl. How can I make forward progress in my life? Let's get the fuck out of mom and dad's house. I'll go fix up this place. And I did that. My dad helped a ton. So suddenly I have like a place where I can like be alone with my thoughts, right? Which is so wonderful. I know I need money, so I go and I get 2 bartending jobs, and I'm serving drinks as a bartender eventually. As I start to go through my daily life, I notice certain cracks, right? I notice certain cracks within me, right? My buddy has a bachelor party, and I go to the bachelor party, and there's like a minor conflict. And like normally at earlier points in my life, this wouldn't have been like a big deal, but like I realized that like I'm so incredibly emotional as a result of going through this situation that like I'm starting to realize this, right? I'm starting to realize this in interactions with people in my life, right? I talk to my parents and I freak out, right? I talk to my friends and I freak out, right? And I'm like, what is happening? And I begin to realize like, oh my God, like I think I'm fucked up. Right? It's so hard to explain to people who have never had significant mental health struggles before what it's like to become aware that like you might not be mentally well as a result of the experiences that you've experienced.
My diagnosis is that you've experienced a severe anxiety attack.
Me? After weeks and weeks and weeks of people telling me what to do and, oh, well, you know, you shouldn't talk about it, right? 'Cause everyone I'm surrounded by, I was so afraid when I came back. I was just telling them all of the horrible things that Caleb could do to me if he so chooses.
No. Chat's just coming in, says, I did miss the beginning of the video, but having a bad boss can be traumatic. And yes, he should unpack this in therapy. Having a bad boss can be traumatic. What he had was a bad employee himself. This is not on Caleb Hammer. I'm sorry. This is on him. You know what I mean? Great point. Chat says, if you're at work, are we in a place of business? Guys, welcome to my place of business. Okay, welcome to my place of business. Thank you. Welcome.
Right? If I navigated the situation the wrong way, maybe he could sue me. Maybe he could send somebody after me. Maybe he could send a private investigator after me. Maybe he could try to slander my online reputation. Maybe he could try to make it so that I could never get hired in this industry ever again. He could blacklist me. Maybe he could
Oh my God, sir.
do all these things. I would tell everybody.
He also had major daddy issues coming into this. ADHD he refuses to get help for, and like a lot of trauma leading into this.
In my life, all these things like ad nauseum, right? And so like they started to mirror those statements back to me, right? And I didn't even think about that. And so like they deeply would discourage me from ever making anything like this, right? Everyone in my life would be like, oh, like they were gripped with such fear. But I've wanted to make content my entire life. So I started to realize it's like, okay, I need to make
Damn, I'm finally getting Sabrina Carpenter's song. Manchild is playing in my head. I can hear it in the back of my head.
mental crawling progress forward in any manifestation. So I started with an audio only podcast. I started with Brain Juice, right? The idea that like let's just like talk. So I started an audio only podcast, and the first episode was kind of a janky mess, but like, you know, it's essentially me saying like, hey, like I'm gonna figure this out. It's essentially me throwing down the gauntlet of like, I'm gonna figure out how to do this. And that's what that first episode is supposed to be. And in every subsequent thing, like what I realized eventually was that like I was trying to like put my psyche back together. I was trying to put back together an identity, because in one moment, as soon as Robert fired me from that company, my identity had shattered. For some reason, as I was like making stuff, like I felt compelled. I was experiencing so many.
Yeah, like I want to be mean to him. Chad said mean girl though. I'm sorry. I want to be mean to him. I want to be mean to him. He makes me want to go for every insecurity I see in him, everything I know that will destroy his character, because I feel like he's undeserving of my compassion, because he has been so just like there's nothing for me to grasp. Like I want to be, he brings out my misandry. He brings out my meanness. And I have to be like, ooh, Jesus is testing me today. You know? And I'm like, so like, I get it. I get the desire to want to be mean to men. But like, not good for your skin. I was going to say something earlier and I stopped myself, and I'm so proud of myself because, girl, the way I was going to be like, tear him up, tear him up, tear him up. Okay? I'm not going to be mean to you. You're being mean enough to yourself. But girl, do not ask me for my spoons. Do not ask me for my compassion or my energy. The only person who needs to give that to you right now is someone you pay good money to. You better be paying the person who's doing the emotional labor to hear you talk.
Many intense emotions. This whole situation made me deal with like years and years and years of repressed trauma. I started a series called My Failure Resume, where I would go through my past projects and I would talk about how the deeply ingrained shame and embarrassment that I felt from each one of them. And as I unpacked that shame and embarrassment, I went back and I made a few apologies, and I went back and I corrected my own record, right? I wanted to make sure that the public saw me for what I actually was. I wanted people to understand
Don't worry, Habibi. We definitely see you for who you are now. By the reception he got in his comment sections, oh, we see you, Habibi. Don't worry. Don't worry. We see you.
Like this is like a fucking builder, right? This person is like compulsively building these things, because it drove me insane. They thought that Caleb was my savior. It's like, Caleb Hammer is not my savior. I am fucking crazy, right? I build shit. I fucking build shit, and I'm fucking hungry. And so it felt like he was stealing that identity from me. And I wanted to first take back that identity, because at my heart, at my core, I'm an entrepreneur and someone who builds. Reestablishing that as my identity was my first objective. I start making stuff. I start putting out stuff as, you know, in the cadence that I can. I try to audio only at first, and then we add video in. Some of it has traction. In the video that I made about the RIT newsman, I'm like, oh, it'd be really funny to fuck with him and try to like position it in a way that's like, hey, like I got fired. And then I made the beginning of the video like super ambiguous, so that it was like, hey, like maybe Noah talks about this time. Cool. Eventually I build up the balls, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back and retroactively correct some of these narratives that were spun about me, about my departure from Hammer Media. I was on the creepy Caleb Hammer subreddit. I put out all this video. I try to work with these people to, you know, make all this shit. And I think on some level I decided like, okay, I don't think I need to make a video about this situation, because like I can go and conquer the world with my own content, right? I can take the high road. And ultimately what I realized is what I've been trying to do is make a vlog. And in creating the first episode of the vlog, the original name of my channel was Noah Chrysler TV. This vlog is going to be the relaunch of Noah Chrysler TV. Ugh. And on television shows, the pilot episodes are always
I'm still waiting for him to say he went to therapy. 5 minutes left, girls. Did he go to therapy, or did he just build another YouTube channel? Don't hold your breath.
You know, where are we starting? Where does the story start? In Community, the story starts with Jeff Winger, you know, being demoted from a lawyer. He was disbarred and now he's going to community college, right? That's the beginning of his story, right? That backstory is very important to the premise of Community. I created the first episode of Noah Chrysler TV with that mindset, right? It's like, what's the backstory that leads up to this, right? And so I recorded this very deeply angry monologue in the woods. And as I'm cutting it, I'm just realizing like, this is not usable. Like, this is not gonna, I'm not going to come across in the ways, like I need to be meticulous with this. And I can't be meticulous with this because like, I can't make it both meticulous, but also entertaining. So eventually you will probably see that episode. But this is why I'm making this video, is because I realized I just needed to communicate as much of this information as possible to you before giving you that context.
Ugh.
The public violation, Caleb breaking his promise to not talk about you, his sanitized story gaining traction on Reddit, your intervention with facts, timeline, and receipts. You know, I send Caleb's team a message. I'm going to go correct these old false narratives about me over on Reddit that your audience, they're all spreading speculation. So I jump into those threads and I clarify. Before I did that, I sent communications to Caleb Hammer and his team. I'm like, look, I will not tolerate false narratives being spread about me in this situation. It is one of the most traumatic situations of my fucking life. I go take
Ethan! Get off Reddit! Ethan Klein, listen to me, Daddy Jordan Peterson. Get off Reddit. You don't belong there. Ethan! Yo, get off Reddit, you fucking losers! Go touch grass, go snort coke, go fuck a woman, do anything but be on Reddit. Consensually. Jesus, get off Reddit. Y'all don't read about yourself. Okay? Go to your therapist, talk to your family and friends, revisit your own content, talk to your audience. Don't go to Reddit. Jesus, fuck. Reddit is, I know, chat, Discord said, one of the most traumatic experiences of my life. What would we do without these good men? Wow. What a great American male. His skin is amazing. It's very white. I really love white skin. White skin is just so heroic. I just feel like the main character in a movie should definitely be white because white is bright. And when you're bright, you're right. Fuck. Okay. Shh. My neighbors. I gotta be quiet. It's 11:30 at night. Shh. Okay. It's a weekend. It's a weekend. It's a weekend. It's fine.
Take to Reddit after that, and I correct the record. 2 days later, Caleb jumps into a Reddit thread, and if you look back at my content since the start of since the relaunch of my channel, there are seeds sown through all of my content about this situation. I'm talking about past traumatic situations from my life. I'm talking about other stuff, but I'm talking about that in the wake of this situation, this fucking mental nuclear bomb that I went through. The last video that I posted to this channel, it's supposed to be a dream.
Bro, wait. Chaz, is your partner in the other room and googly eyes? Sometimes my partner will be like, I heard you yelling and out of context, I need you to know it sounded crazy. And then he's like, sometimes I hop onto your stream to be like, what is she yelling about? And then I was like, oh, and I was like, bro, it must be so funny to be in the other room, just hearing me go. He goes, sometimes I just hear you doing Jordan Peterson. This is who you married. This is who you married. Congratulations. Oh.
Sequence, right? Where it's supposed to be about like, hey, like imagine this idea that like you could wake up, become self-aware in your own life as if you're in a lucid dream. You could make an application video that gets you sent halfway across the country so that you can go and fucking work on a show that's seen by
Relax.
millions of people.
He's so
you
dramatic.
could lucid dream in your own life, take control of your own life and fucking write reality, right? But then what if that lucid dream becomes a waking nightmare? What if you get caught in a web that you didn't see? People are going to call me a clout chaser. People are going to call me all sorts of fucking horrible, fucked up shit. But like, look, here's the facts of that. I've been making content for over 10 years. I am not a successful content creator. I don't have a critical mass of audience. I don't have critical mass of people that support me. And you know what? This video will probably be one of the most viewed things I've ever made in my entire fucking life. And you know what? People are going to be like, well, you know what? He's only attacking Caleb because...
Hi, my name's Noah Chrysler, and this is my YouTube channel. I'm really excited about it. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, probably since I was, 15 and naive, and I saw all of these really cool YouTube celebrities, and I was like, oh my god, they're so funny and great, and I want to be one of those. And not saying that that's the goal here. The goal is to do this and have fun, and, find my own voice, I think. And in doing this, I asked myself the question, right? Like, Noah, what do you want to do? And you know what? I kind of know, but at the same time, I think part of that question is do it, start doing it. Just fucking do it. Just go do it. Like Shia LaBeouf says, just do it. And so this is it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to find my voice on the way, Part of success, right, is showing up, is producing stuff And then along the way, you see what works and what doesn't work. And for a long time, I feel like I have been intimidated by producing things that don't work, you know, like by failing, by producing something and having everybody hate it. You know what? That stops you. Those thoughts stop you from producing anything. So
he is such a neurodivergent person. It's crazy. Ooh, look at my cute thumbnail today. My thumbnail's so cute. He's so neurodivergent. It's like so obvious to me. Look, I've been making content a really long time, and people say to me, like, why do you keep making content if you haven't gone popular? Because I pay my bills every month with this content that you think isn't popular. But if you go back to my old videos, they're incredibly cringe, which is why they're private. They're privated. That's why we private it, because they're bad. Okay? And they ruin your brand. Like, they're bad. Okay? Also, he made Pokemon videos. He was a gamer.
Intro and stuff, and he said it was great. So here we go. We're going to put nickname.
Yeah, he never, that's interesting. So he really struggled to do anything with this. Let's see, most popular videos. I got the job. It wasn't what I thought 2 weeks ago. In the same video, I got fired. I got the job. Caleb Hammer. Oh. Wait.
Nobody cares about my work. No.
What? This is, I'm so sorry. An hour and 22 minutes long. And then he made this video that we just watched for 120 minutes. What? No fucking way.
Nobody cares about my work, and suddenly they cared for some reason. When an employer communicates to you that they don't want you to work there, that is not always a bad thing. That is sometimes something to be very, very proud of. I've abandoned him. I felt so bad because it's like, man, this is my best friend. This is my fucking best friend.
On average, the human brain contains just over a liter of juice. And for this show, I'm gonna use every last drop. Welcome to Brain Juice with Noah Chrysler. That's me.
I want you to get it. I want you to understand. I'm doing
it like blew up in my face. And so this video is a reflection on that. And I'm going to bring a calm. And it was the first time that I felt like by working with somebody else, I was creating value.
Without comedy, these guys start asking questions that these guys don't want asked. Like, why is my life a tragedy? And who took all my stuff before I was born? That's why those guys up there need guys like us, comedy writers. But historically, these guys and these guys, they don't get along so well. The Monopoly guy doesn't want to talk to that guy, which is why historically what was needed was this guy. This is the suit. He's the producer, aggregator, development, executive. They call.
Go do a different deal where you don't lend creative control to somebody with a different agenda than you. And eventually, I'm pretty sure we were formally fired, right? Which I wear as a badge of.
Caleb Hammer, you recently posted a YouTube community update looking for a junior producer. I eagerly applied to the job, I left a comment, you hearted my comment, so then I eagerly awaited your reply. And then I heard nothing for days. Which, by the way, I completely understand. You're a busy guy. You're out here, you're releasing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, hitting that upload schedule. You're making that money, baby. You're making that money.
I get a trillion DMs a day now, so I get not being able to look at them.
So, Caleb, to see if I can get you to reply, I thought I'd make this video and give you the top 5 reasons you should hire me in 231 seconds. Reason 1, I've basically done the job before. I did 2 projects that are very similar to Financial Audit. The first one is a podcast that I hosted called Life Story, and the second one is a legal podcast that I produced called Let's Talk About Death and Taxes. And for both of those, I did a ton of production and I handled casting and booking of all of the guests. I reached out to people, I did guest intake with Google Forms, and I created an entire work of all of the guests. I reached out to people, I did guest intake with Google Forms, and I created an entire workflow for people to apply and then be on the show. I would select the best guests for the shows that we were making so that we could have the most informative and the most entertaining episodes. And from your post, it seems like that's exactly what you're looking for, and I know I can nail that because I've done it before.
How many inquiries do you get every day of people who want to be on the show?
30 or 40 a day. She compiles them into a spreadsheet, and we make sure that there are diverse enough situations and situations that we can help the most.
Reason 2, I've made a ton of content over the years.
I just make content. I make content.
You good? Although none of my projects have had super mainstream success, I've been making videos for the better part of 10 years. I've done a lot of different stuff with a really strong focus on storytelling as well as interviewing and journalism. I can help you diversify and
I totally agree. Chat says he grifted himself into a job he can't actually manage and crashed out. He overpromised. Don't do this to yourself. Don't overpromise to creators. Do you want me to tell you a story? Oh my God. You want to see a time I did this? Oh my God. I'm about to out myself so bad right now. I'll be honest. I'll be transparent. Let me see if I can find it really fast. I don't know what I called it. It's an old video. Do I have it accessible? Yes. Okay. Are you ready? Oh no.
Hello, lady.
Okay, I hate everyone in this chat right now who's going to see this. February 3rd, 2011. February 3rd, 2011. Philip DeFranco asks if anyone is available for internship. I had met Phil a couple of times at VidCon. Okay.
Ladies and dudes. Hi, Phil. So this is a audition video for your internship. My name is Brittany Simon. I am 21, a published author. Almost 22 now.
No. Okay, now that's all I can't. I'll faint. I'll literally gag so hard. I can't. Oh my God. No. Oh my God. Anyways, no. Chat says that's the Republican book. No, that's the lesbian novel. Guys, please don't look this up. When I was a conservative, I wrote a really shitty book. Don't read it. It's trash. Burn it. And then the second book I wrote was a lesbian love story. Please don't read it. Jesus Christ, do not read it. Listen, it's so trash. Listen to me when I say I thought I was going to be a published fictional author because I'd read so much fiction. I was sure I could write it. Don't save yourself because you'll die. I die. Don't do it. Listen, I got a call back. I got a call from one of his producers or whatever. And I didn't qualify for the job. I had to live unpaid in LA and I couldn't afford to do that. There was no way I was going to be able to live in Los Angeles for free until I became a paid person. Plus, and this is really what was beautiful. Yes, no, chat's like, do you really not actually want us to read it? Yes, I genuinely don't want you to read it. I don't make money off of it. It's self-published on Amazon. Don't give them money. And it's really bad. It's really, really bad. Do not read it. Anyways, the internship wasn't for me, but I'm so glad I didn't get it because now I'm a YouTuber all by myself. And I'm so glad I kind of never worked for a YouTuber, if I'm going to be honest. Like, I kind of like really appreciate that I've never worked for a YouTuber. You know, like it kind of like freed me to become my own person in a big way. Not that other people who work for YouTubers can't do that, but I'm not a part of anyone's thing. I built it all by myself and it kind of really helps, right? This video is so bad. This video is so bad.
I am born and raised in Southern California, so I know it pretty well. I feel that working in LA with your company or with anyone in YouTube in general, but especially you, would be beneficial for everyone. I do have...
No, we're not watching this. I can't. I'll literally kill myself. Who knows what she's going to say? What if she's going to dox herself because she doesn't follow the same rules this Brittany does here? I can't. We're not watching that. Listen. Okay, thank you for that. You're welcome. Sneak peek. Okay, let's finish out this man's video. Holy shit. Oh,
because
Lord.
whatever. And you know what? That's not true. That said, I've been trying to become a content creator for the past decade, and I failed at it. I'm trying to make things systematically and produce things at a regular cadence, but I have a attention deficit disorder, and so it makes execution of those things very difficult, right? I'm working with a team of people right now that is very, very successful.
I'm working with a team of people right now who's really successful. Are any of them therapists? Are any of them therapists?
Successful and like really good and experienced at what they're doing to try to help me build a content creation mechanism and machine. I'm collaborating with people nowadays that like, you know, would have blown my mind 2 years ago, which is fucking awesome. But like that said, like this is very, very, very early, right? And I fucking bust my dick off trying to make amazing shit, but it gets a couple hundred views here and there. So like I get it. But like, I want this really, really fucking bad. I want this so much that I tried to make it happen for him, right? I tried to make my own little microcosm of a career from his machine, and it left me broken and fucked up, right? And so now I'm just going to try to do it on my own, right? And that's probably going to come with slower growth. It's probably going to come with less resources. It's probably going to come with more pain.
He's probably paying some like YouTuber content create bro who's like, this is the plan. He's probably paying Sneeko. He's probably paying Andrew Tate for a creative class. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not giving therapy. It's giving, I'm paying Andrew Tate.
More stumbling, but you know what? At least it's going to be mine. So if you're interested in that, I hope that you watch my future shit. I hope you dig back through my other past shit, right? Because all of it is, in my opinion, pretty interesting. I will someday release this vlog that I've been working on. I have 2.
Yeah, I private videos that are either misinformation or harm. Like if I've said an opinion that is harmful and I've grown and deconstructed, right? I private those videos. I private any videos that I think are like not a representation of anything healthy or good in like a very particular way. I know some YouTubers keep all of their videos public, but I really think for me, the sign of growth is that I'm humble enough, in my opinion, to private content I was proud of at the time, but recognize as harmful now to my communities. I think that's one of the red flags I do see in other people where I'm like, why aren't you privating this video? It's harmful. And you keeping it up isn't you hiding it. It's you telling the world you're ashamed of it. You shouldn't have posted it. But that's the thing is like, I feel like sometimes people keep content up as if to say they don't want to make it go away, but then you're not actually changing as a person, i.e. Trisha Paytas. Like Trisha Paytas's content is all still up. And not all of it, but I mean, a part of me is like, have you really changed that much though, Trisha? Like, I don't know. Maybe that's the wrong way to look at it, but for myself, I think keeping it up is like promoting it. You know what I mean? It's like saying I still wonder about, like even today, somebody commented on an old video of mine. I was like, oh, I don't want this video up. Because I don't want people thinking I still stand by this opinion and I'm promoting bad YouTubers. So I privated the video. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, I don't want people to watch my content and be like, oh, Brittany says this content creator is good. And then I'm like, no. No. You know what I mean? Like it's not important for me to keep the AdSense or to keep it up. I would rather people not accidentally get misled by that Brittany because she was misled, you know?
2 shows, one called Brain Juice, which is a solo podcast, and then I have another show called Chasing Dragons, which is about entrepreneurship and shit. My point is that I'm trying to make content. For the past 6 or so months, I tried to put this behind me. I never wanted to make this video, but I realize now that like I have to make this video because unless I make this video, I will never receive closure on any of these things. So this is this video. Thank you for watching it if you made it towards the end. To the people who have reached out to me as a result of this situation, to the people who have surrounded me with kindness and empathy, you know, they've listened to me. Thank you specifically to Emily. Emily, thank you so much for getting it. Thank you to my cousin Brandon for being here since the fucking beginning of this shit. And thank you to my parents. My parents have been through hell and back. They don't know how to handle this. They don't know how to handle any of this shit, right? They think I'm crazy. They don't want me to get sued. But they recognize that like on some level I need to speak about this in some way. And so they've been so supportive and encouraging.
Emily's that friend who's probably known him since college or childhood, who's really seen the good in him, but like he's not getting better. And she doesn't know how to disengage or not be his friend anymore. I said what I said.
And I love them so much. So thank you guys. To my editors who are working for too little money, you know, thank you so much. I owe you guys so much. And I'm so sorry that I couldn't pay you more money, but I don't have any. And lastly, thank you to the people who have been kind to me in my DMs. It's so wonderful to connect with you guys. You know, people who like genuinely seem to actually fucking give a shit about me in my life. Those people are awesome. So thank you for that.
Oh my God, bro. Okay, comment sections. Moderators' notes. LOL, that's a lie. The negative comments were too traumatic for him. Literally admitting that you were deleting negative comments because they hurt your feelings and fragile little ego, some weak shit. Okay, don't post these mean comments, guys. Like, these are mean. Don't post these. Okay, thank you for sharing. Whether we believe you or him is not the point. It's brave to share something like this, blah, blah, blah. Hey, friends, this is Noah's channel where he can post what he wants and delete whatever comments he wants, blah, blah, blah. Okay. If this is the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to you, consider yourself blessed. Bro really tried to set up a boxing match between a fragile homeless guy and a very well-off big guy and thought that was the normal thing to do. Maybe he could blacklist me. I think this whole video will kind of do that for him. There should have been an adult in the room, licensed driver and registered voter. They are all inside thoughts that should have been shared in privacy in a therapist's office. I don't want to make this video, but I have to. No, you did not have to. Yeah. This video remains to be the ultimate guide to when having main character syndrome goes wrong. Ding, 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 ding. Main character syndrome. Yeah, he's got that main character syndrome, bro. Chat Discord said, man, I'm traumatized. Man, I should make a YouTube video. Listen, we've all made videos at an inappropriate time when we should have talked to a therapist. Bro needs to catch up, though. Bro needs to watch his old content and maybe cringe. Look, the reason I cringe at my old content is because I've grown, and I feel like you should kind of cringe at your old content in a fun way. Like, I'm not like, Brittany did her best. She really thought it was great. That's good. But if you don't cringe at your own content and it actually gets better, it's like, are you actually getting better? I feel like you should kind of feel not haunted by your old content. Like, I don't want you to feel guilty for the rest of your life. But you should feel like, oh, I'm glad I've gotten better. He feels like the kind of guy who just said, I think my old content's still good, right? Didn't he just say that? Didn't he just say that? And I'm like, is it though? Are you telling me in 9 years you haven't improved yet? Didn't he just say that? It feels like he isn't getting better, you know? Yeah. That was crazy. What a roller coaster, dude. Was there anything else we wanted to look up in relation to this story? I mean, I think it's clear that Caleb made the right choice and this guy shouldn't be employed by anybody. Nobody should date this man. This man needs crazy amounts of therapy. I have seen like no improvement. What did we even just learn? You know what I learned? I learned that my levels of introspection is fucking spot on. Because if this man's not a 1, you know what I'm saying? Like, girl, you can't even, after all of this, like, you know what I'm saying? Even Logan Paul turned his career around after filming a dead person. You can't even get your shit together after being fired. Whoa. You know what I mean? Even Logan Paul was like, how do I turn this around? Wow. Oh, all right. Well, peace and love, guys. Hey, what are you gonna do? Yeah, I don't even know how you would help somebody like this, truly. Like, you can't until he wants to help himself, right? Like, you can't until he wants to help himself. That's it, period. Will he ever want to help himself, though? Where do you think he's going to be when he gets to Ethan's age? 40. Where do you think he's going to be when he's Ethan's age? Because we know where Ethan ended up at 40. Ooh. And girl.